Happy holidays, everyone. And you know, anything that has to do with electoral politics, I consider to be a holiday. My wife had some feelings about me mentioning holiday in relation to marriage and birthday and all this other good stuff. So let's watch the State of the Union address. I'm going to show the Trump address, the Democratic response, and all things being equal, Bernie Sanders. And I may slice the video up after the fact, but let's have some fun. I would say blaze one if you got one, because, you know, this is Donald Trump giving a State of the Union speech. So it's like a third grader, you know, with crayon and all that other good stuff. But nevertheless, it's politics. And if you were able to sit here and then showed up as a citizen of this country to listen to Donald Trump, gold star to you. And pat yourself on the back and give yourself a blanket and say that it's like me pouring you one. So let's flip over. Trump is on the podium now, so let's flip to him.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, Mr. Vice President, members of Congress, the First Lady of the United States, and my fellow Americans. We meet tonight at a moment of unlimited potential. As we begin a new Congress, I stand here ready to work with you to achieve historic breakthroughs for all Americans. Millions of our fellow citizens are watching us now gathered in this great chamber, hoping that we will govern not as two parties, but as one nation. It's the agenda of the American people. Many of us have campaigned on the same core promises: to defend American jobs and demand fair trade for American workers, to rebuild and revitalize our nation's infrastructure, to reduce the price of health care and prescription drugs, to create an immigration system that is safe, lawful, modern, and secure, and to pursue a foreign policy that puts America's interest first.
Build that
there
wall,
is a
Trump.
new opportunity in American politics if only we have the courage together to seize it.
That's being done in woman solidarity as far as I understand it.
What, them dressed in white?
Yeah.
Victory is not winning for our party. Victory is winning for our country.
I suppose that's why you gave all those tax cuts to the top 1%. That's totally why I suppose that's what it is. Yes, I'm gonna hate.
This year, America will recognize two important anniversaries that show us the majesty of America's mission and the power of American pride. In June, we mark 75 years since the start of what General Dwight D. Eisenhower called the Great Crusade, the Allied liberation of Europe in World War II. On D-Day, June 6, 1944,
Donald Trump didn't even know what that was.
15,000 young American men jumped from the sky,
What's D-Day?
and 60,000 more stormed in from the sea to save our civilization from tyranny. Here with us tonight are three of those incredible heroes. Private First Class Joseph Riley.
That guy at the end, man. Is he still alive?
He looks...
And Sergeant Herman Zaitchek.
The last guy's not standing up. There's no way he's going to stand up. Help him up. Help him up. What are you doing? That man's a veteran. A hero or something.
Gentlemen, we salute you. In 2019, we also celebrate 50 years since brave young pilots flew 250,000 miles through space to plant the American flag on the face of the moon. Half a century later, we are joined by one of the Apollo 11 astronauts who planted that flag, Buzz Aldrin.
I can get behind that. Go ahead, Buzz. Buzz punched the guy out for saying that the moon landing was fake. I can get behind that. Physical violence.
That looks good.
He does look good. It's like 150.
I think that's an exaggeration.
It's not. It's not. It's right dead on. Look at all percentage point. But Buzz looks good.
Thank you, Buzz. This
No, Buzz.
Let's talk about thank you, Buzz.
Like you're on a first name basis.
American rockets.
Buzz didn't even look.
In the 20th century, America saved freedom,
Yeah, he punched the guy.
Transformed
I was saying the moon landing was fake.
redefined the middle class, and when you get down to it, there's nothing anywhere in the world that can compete with America.
Be specific. Be specific. There's Muchin. That's the guy that gave Kamala Harris all that money. And then she let him off the hook.
Now we must step boldly and bravely into the next chapter of this great American adventure. And we must create a new standard of living for the 21st century. An amazing quality of life for all of our citizens is within reach. We can make our community safer, our family stronger, our culture richer, our faith deeper, and our middle class bigger and more prosperous than ever before. But we must reject the politics of revenge, resistance, and retribution, and embrace the boundless potential of cooperation, compromise, and the common good.
That was an aggressive Nancy Pelosi. She's like, I'm not here for it. Yeah, I'm just here out of formality, sir. I'm not taking a shot for you.
Of political stalemate.
When you saw Pelosi jump
we can
at
bridge
Trump,
old divisions, heal old wounds, build new coalitions, forge new solutions, and unlock the extraordinary promise of America's future. The decision is ours to make. We must choose between greatness or gridlock, results or resistance, vision or vengeance, incredible progress or pointless destruction. Tonight, I ask you to choose greatness.
fuck that. There are some people in political circles that just need to lose. I'm sorry. It's not about compromise.
Over the last 2 years, my administration has moved with urgency and historic speed to confront problems neglected by leaders of both parties over many decades. In just over 2 years since the election, we have launched an unprecedented economic boom, a boom that has rarely been seen before. There's been nothing like it. We have created 5.3 million new jobs and importantly added 600,000 new manufacturing jobs, something which almost everyone said was impossible to do. But the fact is, we are just getting started.
There's a surgeon that became the urban house owner or something like that. Urban house development of housing. It's so racist, and it's Ben Carson. I'm not talking about the lady.
Wages are rising at the fastest pace in decades, and growing for blue-collar workers, who I promised to fight for. They're growing faster than anyone else thought possible. Nearly 5 million Americans have been lifted off food stamps. The U.S. economy is growing almost twice as fast today as when I took office.
They have a job.
And we are considered far and away the hottest economy anywhere in the world, not even close.
What's the point of an economy if the jobs aren't necessarily making the people more secure?
Unemployment has reached the lowest rate in over half a century.
Poverty is tremendous, to take a word from Trump. 4 out of 10 Americans are, you say, in or near poverty, so let's be honest.
African American, Hispanic American, and Asian American unemployment have all reached their lowest levels ever recorded.
Have Asians had trouble getting employment? I'm just saying, it sounds like you were going in. But fair enough. I'm not hiring that guy because that guy's way too Asian.
Unemployment for Americans with disabilities has also reached an all-time low. More people are working now than at any time in the history of our country. 157 million people at work.
That isn't work, it's the end all be all. It's not.
We passed a massive tax cut for working families.
For the top 1%.
And doubled the child tax credit.
83% of the gains of that tax cut is going to the top 1%. and people did not see an improvement in their position at work. So again, let's be honest. Oh, look at Ocasio, man. She is fierce.
Or death
She
tax,
is ferocious.
as it is often called, on small businesses, for ranches, and also for family farms. We eliminated the very unpopular Obamacare individual mandate penalty. And to give critically ill patients access to life-saving cures, we passed, very importantly, right to try. My administration has cut more regulations in a short period of time than any other administration during its entire tenure.
That's not something to be proud of. I'm going to get rid of this food inspector. I'm going to get rid of the person that checks your water and air.
Companies are coming back to our country in large numbers, thanks to our historic reductions in taxes and regulations.
They are not.
And we have unleashed a revolution
it's women's solidarity,
in
if I'm not
American
mistaken.
energy.
But
The
I could be wrong.
United States is now the #1 producer of oil and natural gas anywhere in the world.
Joe Manchin. Just switch parties, man. Joe, God, somebody take him out of his seat.
And now, for the first time in 65 years, we are a net exporter of energy.
Donald Trump's own report showed by 2100 the temperature is going to spike to like 4 degrees
After 24
Celsius.
months
Just
of
saying.
rapid progress, our economy is the envy of the world.
It is not.
Our military is the most powerful on earth by far. And America,
That's bullying in the schoolroom. I'm not sure if that's something to be proud of, but okay.
America is again winning each and every day. Members of Congress, the state of our union is strong.
I love that too. I was joking that when I first heard that, but now I see it in action. I like it. Oh God, just sit down. It hurt me.
That sounds so good. Our country is vibrant,
Mike Pence is
and
touching
our
himself.
economy is thriving
And then hating
like
himself
never
afterwards.
before. On Friday, it was announced that we added another 304,000 jobs last month alone, almost double the number expected. An economic miracle is taking place in the United States, and the only thing that can stop it are foolish wars, politics, or ridiculous partisan investigations.
Oh, I love it. Pelosi breaks. Pelosi's like, And Schiff, that's spineless so-and-so. I don't have good words to say about Schiff.
If there is going to be peace and legislation, There cannot be war and investigation. It just doesn't work that way.
You know, to be fair, the whole pulling troops off
We
Afghanistan thing,
must
maybe he's talking about
be
that.
united at home to defeat our adversaries abroad. This new era of cooperation can start with finally confirming the more than 300 highly qualified nominees who are still stuck in the Senate, in some cases years and years waiting. Not right.
2 words. Merrick Garland. Merrick Garland. 2 words. I don't want to hear shit from any Republican on no, court picks. Merrick Garland. It's not that I love Merrick Garland, but it was
the Senate has failed to act on these nominations, which is unfair to the nominees and very unfair to our country. Now is the time for bipartisan action. Believe it or not, we have already proven that that's possible. In the last Congress, both parties came together to pass unprecedented legislation to confront
it's just me.
The opioid crisis, a sweeping new farm bill, historic VA reforms,
Look at Booker. Look at Cory Booker.
of rejection, we passed VA accountability so that we can finally terminate those who mistreat our wonderful veterans.
Apparently the VA does. Some people in the VA apparently. I can get behind, I don't want people being abused, so fair enough.
Just weeks ago, both parties united for groundbreaking criminal justice reform. They said it couldn't be done. Last year, I heard through friends the story of Alice Johnson.
Looking at a menu during the State of
I was deeply moved.
Well, she's
In 1987, Alice was sentenced to life in prison as a first-time nonviolent drug offender. Over the next 22 years, she became a prison minister, inspiring others to choose a better path. She had a big impact on that prison population and far beyond. Alice's story underscores the disparities and unfairness that can exist in criminal sentencing and the need to remedy this total injustice. She served almost that 22 years and had expected to be in prison for the remainder of her life.
At one point, it was like, is that
in June?
Is that Merlin?
I commuted
that's not Merlin.
Alice's sentence. When I saw Alice's beautiful family
God, man,
greet her
messed
at
up.
the prison gates, hugging and kissing and crying and laughing, I knew I did something right. Alice is with us tonight, and she is a terrific woman. Terrific. Alice, please.
She's not like those rapists and drug-dealing Mexicans. She's a good one. I'm bothered by this token thing, but the criminal justice thing, if I'm not mistaken, is a good thing. And getting her out of prison was also a good thing. I wonder, is this the one Kim Kardashian? You know what I'm talking about? Where Kim Kardashian?
Alice, thank you for reminding us that we always have the power to shape our own destiny. Thank you very much, Alice.
But she didn't! She didn't! She was in prison for 20 years. You think she wanted to be in prison?
Like Alice's. My administration worked closely with members of both parties.
Yeah, man. Don't ad-lib, dog. Don't ad-lib.
Big deal. It's a big deal.
Pelosi is giving a half-hearted clap. I've never
This
seen that
legislation reformed sentencing laws that have wrongly and disproportionately harmed the African American community. The First Step Act gives nonviolent offenders the chance to re-enter society as productive, law-abiding citizens. Now, states across the country are following our lead. America is a nation that believes in redemption. We are also joined tonight by Matthew Charles from Tennessee. In 1996, at the age of 30, Matthew was sentenced to 35 years for selling drugs and related offenses. Over the next 2 decades, he completed more than 30 Bible studies, became a law clerk, and mentored many of his fellow inmates. Now Matthew is the very first person to be released from prison under the First Step Act. Matthew, please.
I wonder if that guy gonna vote for Trump. You don't think so? What about that other one? I don't know. I think he just cried. He got my ass out of prison.
Thank you, Matthew.
I don't think it's TV.
Welcome home. Now, Republicans and Democrats must join forces
He's used
again
as a token.
to
Right, that's
confront
like they're just
an
being used as a
urgent
tool.
national
Even if
crisis.
you got me out of jail and you say, can you come
Congress
to the
has
State Union?
10
would
days
go.
left to
Fuck.
pass a
You would
bill
go.
I would
that
say,
will fund our government,
how big is the check?
protect our homeland, and secure our very
And is
dangerous
anybody gonna see my
southern
face?
border.
Yes.
Now is the time for Congress to show the world that America is committed to ending illegal immigration and putting the ruthless coyotes, cartels, drug dealers, and human traffickers out of business.
Don't forget the rapist, Trump. Don't leave out the rapist. There's our progressive prosecutor. Let us come on, ass.
Oh.
Large, organized caravans are on the march to the United States. We have just heard that Mexican cities, in order to remove the illegal immigrants from their communities, are getting trucks and buses to bring them up to our country in areas where there is little border protection. I have ordered another 3,750 troops to our southern border to prepare for this tremendous onslaught.
Onslaught.
This is a moral issue. The lawless state of our southern border is a threat to the safety, security, and financial well-being of all America. We have a moral duty to create an immigration system that protects the lives and jobs of our citizens. This includes our obligation to the millions of immigrants living here today who followed the rules and respected our laws. Legal immigrants enrich our nation and strengthen our society in countless ways.
I would almost guarantee you there is a Mexican that is going to stand up and go after other
If he
Mexicans.
has a Mexican token person to stand up,
I
I'm
want
done.
people to come into our country
I'm done.
Next
in
contestant.
the
Come on
largest
down.
numbers ever, but they have to come in legally. Tonight, I am asking you to defend our very dangerous southern border out of love and devotion to our fellow citizens and to our country. No issue better illustrates the divide between America's working class and America's political class than illegal immigration. Wealthy politicians and donors push for open borders while living their lives behind walls and gates and guards. Meanwhile, working-class Americans are left to pay the price for mass illegal immigration. Reduced jobs, lower wages, overburdened schools, hospitals that are so crowded you can't get in, increased crime, and a depleted social safety net. Tolerance for illegal immigration is not compassionate. It is actually very cruel. One in 3 women is sexually assaulted on the long journey north. Smugglers use migrant children as human pawns to exploit our laws and gain access to our country. Human traffickers and sex traffickers take advantage of the wide open areas between our ports of entry to smuggle thousands of young girls and women into the United States and to sell them into prostitution and modern-day slavery. Tens of thousands of innocent Americans are killed by lethal drugs that cross our border and flood into our cities, including meth, heroin, cocaine, and fentanol.
Most of the drugs come across the border.
The savage gang,
itself,
MS-13,
smuggled across the border,
now operates
it's like in
at least
else,
20 different American states. And they almost all come through our southern border. Just yesterday, an MS-13 gang member was taken into custody for a fatal shooting on a subway platform in New York City. We are removing these gang members by the thousands, but until we secure our border,
it's also removing regular people
they're going
who
to keep streaming right back in. Year after year, countless Americans are murdered by criminal, illegal aliens. I've gotten to know many wonderful angel moms and dads and families. No one should ever have to suffer the horrible heartache that they have had to endure. Here tonight is Deborah Bissell. Just 3 weeks ago, Deborah's parents, Gerald and Sharon, were burglarized and shot to death in their Reno, Nevada home by an illegal alien. They were in their 80s and are survived by 4 children, 11 grandchildren, and 20 great-grandchildren. Also here tonight are Gerald and Sharon's granddaughter, Heather, and great-granddaughter, Madison. To Deborah, Heather, Madison, please stand. Few can understand your pain. Thank you, and thank you for being here. Thank you very much. I will never forget, and I will fight for the memory of Gerald and Sharon, that it should never happen again. Not one more American life should be lost because our nation failed to control its very dangerous border. In the last 2 years, our brave ICE officers made 266,000 arrests of criminal aliens, including those charged or convicted of nearly 100,000 assaults, 30,000 sex crimes, and 4,000 killings or murders. We are joined tonight by one of those law enforcement heroes, ICE Special Agent Elvin Hernandez. When Elvin...
There's your Mexican. Hernandez? That's not close? That's not close enough? I'm a big racist. Last name is Hernandez.
I said...
Like he's an ICE agent.
Not... Fuck.
Right? What am I missing? Don't want to be a racist. This guy's...
When Elvin was a boy,
He
he and his family legally immigrated to the United States from the Dominican Republic.
Oh, my bad.
At the age of 8,
Republic.
Elvin told his dad he wanted to become a special agent. Today, he leads investigations into the scourge of international sex
But
trafficking.
you'd be shocked by this.
Elvin
I
says
saw polls showing the majority of
that if I
Hispanics
can
agreed
make
with
sure
Trump on
these
some of this
young
stuff.
girls
Shots
get their
shot me,
justice,
but it shouldn't
I've
be anywhere
really
near that.
done
Those
my
photos
job.
could be-
Thanks to his work and that of his incredible colleagues, more than 300 women and girls have been rescued from the horror of this terrible situation. And more than 1,500 sadistic traffickers have been put behind bars.
Yeah, you thought Ocasio was
she
leaving.
was leaving.
We will always
Ocasio was like, I'm done. I can't take it anymore.
of law enforcement. And I pledge to you tonight that I will never abolish our heroes from ICE. Thank you. My administration has sent to Congress a
They would never take my
common-sense
freedom.
proposal to end the crisis.
No, that's
Southern
William
border.
Wallace.
It includes
Yeah, I
humanitarian
know.
assistance,
But the person that
more
he's
law enforcement,
pretending he's Scotland.
drug
It was those
detection at
war with
airports,
Scotland, but I can't think of the name of the movie.
closing
but it's not
loopholes
Patriot.
that enable child smuggling.
I kept thinking
and
Tron.
plans
It was
for a
like,
new
and I will never
physical
forsake you.
barrier
When the guy's
or
like
wall
screaming in the
to
thing.
secure the vast areas
Jeff- I
between
can't think of his
our
name.
ports of
I don't
entry.
remember mine. I'm damn sure not gonna
In the
remember
past,
Tron was
most
epic,
of the
man.
people in this room voted for a wall, but the proper wall never got built. I will get it built.
Not if a dime doesn't come through that Congress. Nancy Pelosi. Look that shit up there. I'm just saying. Do you know Nancy Pelosi's poll numbers went up after the shutdown because she was so resilient against Trump on this
This
wall
is
stuff?
a smart,
Yeah, all the
strategic,
senators said no.
see-through steel barrier, not just a simple concrete wall.
Oh, he's changing.
It will
He's
be
moving. It's not a big,
deployed
beautiful
in
wall.
the
Look at
areas
Pelosi. Look at
identified
Pelosi.
By the border agents as having
I
the
love it, I
greatest
love it.
need. And these agents will tell you where walls go up, illegal crossings go way, way down.
Look at Ted Cruz. God, Beto. You're supposed to take him out.
Who's this guy?
San Diego used to
that's-
have the most
Is
illegal
it
border
Cobalt?
crossings
Okay.
in our
I need to see
country.
him again.
In response, a
The progressive
strong security
prosecutor, she
wall
knows.
was put in place. This
Sorry,
powerful
sorry.
barrier
Shake it off.
almost completely ended illegal crossings.
Powerful barrier. I love
The
it.
border city of El Paso, Texas, used to have extremely high rates of violent crime, one of the highest in the entire country, and considered one of our nation's most dangerous cities. Now, immediately upon its building, with a powerful barrier in place, El Paso is one of the safest cities in our country. Simply put, walls work and walls save lives.
I want to see. There she is. Yeah, she. I don't know if she can keep that.
So
He's watching
let's
porn on
work
his phone.
together,
She's doing
compromise, and
Child
reach a deal
porn.
Yeah, Schumer
that will truly make America safe. As we work to defend our people's safety, we must also ensure our economic resurgence continues at a rapid pace. No one has benefited more from our thriving economy than women, who have filled 58% of the newly created jobs last year.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You weren't supposed to do that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All Americans can be proud that we have more women in the workforce than ever before. Don't sit yet. You're going to like this. And exactly 1 century after Congress passed the constitutional amendment giving women the right to vote, we also have more women serving in Congress than at any time before.
Well, I mean, blacks have the right to vote, women got the right, but then they have done poll tax and that type of stuff, try to prevent it. What's it? It's just for whites. You know that? Or are you just saying? You know that as a flat fact. As a flat fact. I don't know what that means. I was saying, you know that as a flat fact. Yeah, and somebody's going to be like, that's bullshit, yo. Your wife doesn't know what she's talking about.
That's great. Very great. And congratulations. That's great. As part of our commitment to improving opportunity for women everywhere, this Thursday, we are launching the first ever government-wide initiative.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
For women in developing countries. To build on, thank you. To build on our incredible economic success, one priority is paramount: reversing decades of calamitous trade policies. So bad. We are now making it clear to China that after years of targeting our industries and stealing our intellectual property, the theft of American jobs and wealth has come to an end. Therefore, we recently
jobs
imposed
in both.
tariffs on $250 billion of Chinese goods, and now our Treasury is receiving billions and billions of dollars. But I don't blame China for taking advantage of us. I blame our leaders and representatives for allowing this travesty to happen. I have great respect for President Xi, and we are now working on a new trade deal with China. But it must include real structural change to end unfair trade practices, reduce our chronic trade deficit, and protect American jobs. Another historic trade blunder was the catastrophe known as NAFTA. I have met the men and women of Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Indiana, New Hampshire, and many other states whose dreams were shattered by the signing of NAFTA. For years, politicians promised them they would renegotiate for a better deal, but no one ever tried until now. Our new U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement, the USMCA, will replace NAFTA and deliver for American workers like they haven't had delivered to for a long time. I hope you can pass the USMCA into law so that we can bring back our manufacturing jobs in even greater numbers, expand American agriculture, protect intellectual property, and ensure that more cars are proudly stamped with our 4 beautiful words, made in the USA. Tonight, I am also asking you to pass the United States Reciprocal Trade Act so that if another country places an unfair tariff on an American product, we can charge them the exact same tariff on the exact same product that they sell to us. Both parties should be able to unite for a great rebuilding of America's crumbling infrastructure. I know that Congress is eager to pass an infrastructure bill, and I am eager to work with you on legislation to deliver new and important infrastructure investment, including investments in the cutting-edge industries of the future. This is not an option. This is a necessity. The next major priority for me and for all of us should be to lower the cost of health care and prescription drugs, and to protect patients with pre-existing conditions. Already as a result of my administration's efforts in 2018, drug prices experienced their single largest decline in 46 years. But we must do more. It's unacceptable that Americans pay vastly more than people in other countries for the exact same drugs, often made in the exact same place. This is wrong, this is unfair, And together, we will stop it, and we'll stop it fast.
Good luck. Good luck.
I am asking
Capitalism is
Congress
not
to
capitalism.
pass legislation that finally takes on the problem of global freeloading and delivers fairness and price transparency for American patients, finally. We should also require drug companies, insurance companies, and hospitals to disclose real prices to foster competition and bring costs way down. No force in history has done more to advance the human condition than American freedom. In recent years, we have made remarkable progress in the fight against HIV and AIDS. Scientific breakthroughs have brought a once distant dream within reach. My budget will ask Democrats and Republicans to make the needed commitment to eliminate the HIV epidemic in the United States within 10 years. We have made incredible strides, incredible. Together, we will defeat AIDS in America and beyond. Tonight, I am also asking you to join me in another fight that all Americans can get behind, the fight against childhood cancer.
It's going to cure AIDS. Why not say cure cancer?
We're going to cure AIDS. We're going to
Joining
cure
Melania.
Trump.
But we're not going to provide health care. But he wants to get rid of
She's a very
Obamacare.
brave
Who the fuck is going to
10-year-old girl,
what kind of cure they come up with?
Grace Eline. Every birthday,
Here's another token case. And I don't feel, I feel for the individuals that are involved in the situation. But let's be honest, this is political games for shit. He's leveraging various people and their suffering for his own political advantage. But let's let him hear it.
Hi, Grace. Every birthday since she was 4, Grace asked her friends to donate to St. Jude's Children's Hospital. She did not know that one day she might be a patient herself. That's what happened. Last year, Grace was diagnosed with brain cancer. Immediately, she began radiation treatment. At the same time, she rallied her community and raised more than $40,000 for the fight against cancer. When Grace completed treatment last fall, her doctors and nurses cheered. They loved her. They still love her. With tears in their eyes as she hung up a poster that read, "Last day of chemo."
Oh,
Thank
yeah,
you
they're
very
meds.
much, Grace. You are a great inspiration to everyone in this room. Thank you very much.
He isn't doing shit.
Many childhood cancers have not seen new therapies in decades. My budget will ask Congress for $500 million over the next 10 years to fund this critical life-saving research. To help support working parents, the time has come to pass school choice for Americans' children.
School choice is the rebranded charter schools. There you go. That's the voice. Taking public money and dumping it into private.
I am also proud to be the first president to include in my budget a plan for nationwide paid family leave so that every new parent has the chance to bond with their newborn child. There could be no greater contrast to the beautiful image of a mother holding her infant child than the chilling displays our nation saw in recent days. Lawmakers in New York cheered with delight upon the passage of legislation that would allow a baby to be ripped from the mother's womb moments from birth. These are living, feeling, beautiful babies who will never get the chance to share their love and their dreams with the world. And then we had the case of the governor of Virginia, where he stated he would execute a baby after birth. To defend the dignity of every person, I am asking Congress to pass legislation to prohibit the late-term abortion of children who can feel pain in the mother's womb.
I'm always enamored how Republicans want to fight for the lives of fetuses and zygotes, but the moment that that kid is born, sorry kid, you're on your own. This is like nonsense. If you're going to bring kids into the world, you should be able to take care of that kid.
Let us
The
work
fact of the matter
together
is,
to
none
build
of
a
these Republicans
culture
are on
that
board for taking care
cherishes
of their
innocent life.
responsibilities in this way. If you're so happy with bringing them in, you can take care of them.
And let us reaffirm a fundamental truth. All children, born and unborn, are made in the holy image of God. The final part
What is an unborn
of
child?
my agenda is to protect American security. Over the last 2 years, we have begun to fully rebuild the United States military with $700 billion last year and $716 billion this year. We are also getting
That's not
other
anything to
nations
brag over.
to pay their fair share. Finally,
Just wants those nations to buy the United States weapons. Again, be honest.
for years, the United States was being treated very unfairly by friends of ours, members of NATO. But now we have secured, over the last couple of years, more than $100 billion of increase in defense spending from our NATO allies. They said it couldn't be done. As part of our military buildup, the United States is developing a state-of-the-art missile defense system. Under my administration, we will never apologize for advancing America's interests. For example, decades ago, the United States entered into a treaty with Russia in which we agreed to limit and reduce our missile capability. While we followed the agreement and the rules to the letter, Russia repeatedly violated its terms. It's been going on for many years. That is why I announced that the United States is officially withdrawing from the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty, or INF Treaty. Perhaps
these idiots are cheering an arms race. Just very, be very clear what we're talking about. The United States is pulling out of this treaty.
Really
Russia and China are going to respond in kind.
Perhaps we
China was never a part of it, but Russia
negotiate a different agreement, adding China and others.
The United States is now building tactical nukes.
In which case we will outspend
so they can use them in a wartime setting. Well, not even a wartime setting, just use them.
By far. As part of a bold new diplomacy, we continue our historic push for peace on the Korean Peninsula. Our hostages have come home. Nuclear testing has stopped.
And
there has not been a missile launch in more than 15 months.
North Korea and South Korea unification.
If I had not been elected President of the United States,
oh God,
we would right now, in my opinion, be in a major war with North Korea.
Maybe Hillary Clinton in office?
Who's the eye patch?
I don't know who that guy is.
Much work remains to be done, but my relationship with Kim Jong-un is a good one. Chairman Kim and I will meet again on February 27th and 28th in Vietnam.
Politically, this has to work for Trump, meaning he may have an incentive in order to keep this peace process
government
going,
of Venezuela
even if news comes out about
and its new president.
Otherwise, here we are.
Juan Guaido.
Not the president of Venezuela. That's some random idiot that swore himself in as president. He also declared himself King of England, so just know.
We stand with the Venezuelan people in their noble quest for freedom, and we condemn the brutality of the Maduro regime, whose socialist policies have turned that nation from being the wealthiest in South America into a state of abject poverty and despair.
Had nothing at all to do with the sanctions.
Here in the United States, we are alarmed by the new calls to adopt socialism in our country. America was founded on liberty and independence, and not government coercion, domination, and control. We are born free, and we will stay free.
%95 of the revenue went to the top 1% over the time Obama was in office. There you go, Sanders. Sanders gonna rip his shirt off. He can't say anything now, but when you're President Sanders,
we renew our resolve that America will never be a socialist country.
I'll say, look at the quality of life in somewhere like Denmark and compare it to the quality of life in the United States, and let's have a conversation about a socialist country.
One of the most complex set of challenges we face and have for many years is in the Middle East. Our approach is based on principled realism. not discredited theories that have failed for decades to yield progress. For this reason, my administration recognized the true capital of Israel and proudly opened the American embassy in Jerusalem. Wounded. We have spent more than $7 trillion in fighting wars in the Middle East. As a candidate for president, I loudly pledged a new approach. Great nations do not fight endless wars. When I took office, ISIS controlled more than 20,000 square miles in Iraq and Syria.
I want to give a shout out in a super chat. Atlas, I'm sorry. Atlas Kinzo. Get yourself something good to eat after this shit show. Yeah, this is painful. This is a painful show. This has been a long day, and this is a brutal end to the day. But thank you, Atlas. I really do appreciate it. Your support is greatly appreciated. Let's go back to the show.
It is time to give our brave warriors in Syria a warm welcome home. I have also accelerated our negotiations to reach, if possible, a political settlement in Afghanistan. The opposing side is also very happy to be negotiating. Our troops have fought with unmatched valor, and thanks to their bravery, we are now able to pursue a possible political solution to this long and bloody conflict. In Afghanistan, my administration is holding constructive talks with a number of Afghan groups, including the Taliban. As we make progress in these negotiations, we will be able to reduce our troops' presence and focus on counterterrorism, and we will indeed focus on counterterrorism. We do not know whether we'll achieve an agreement, but we do know that after 2 decades of war, the hour has come to at least try for peace, and the other side would like to do the same thing. It's time. Above all, friend and foe alike must never doubt this nation's power and will to defend our people. 18 years ago, violent terrorists attacked the USS Cole, and last month, American forces killed one of the leaders of that attack.
I want to give one other shout out. My wife wants to say it.
Patrick Scarpati.
And maybe a shot. Maybe a shot, indeed. We have liquor.
We are honored to be joined tonight
Maybe.
by
We'll have something here.
Wibberley.
Might be able to do a shot. I don't know if you can do shots live, but
Will they kick you off the air if we do?
One of the 17
don't know.
senators.
That's what we should have done.
tragically
Instead of showing
lost.
this shit, we should have done shots.
Tom, we
all
vow
night
to
long.
always
We should've done a
remember
shot
the
every time
heroes
we did that
of
thing
the
with this
USS.
oh, that
Cole.
would have been good. That would have been good.
Every time
Trump did that, it's like, take a shot.
way better.
Be completely. You know, I don't like this. I like to smoke my liquor, take a bong hit every time Trump does this hand thing. You take a shot, I take a bong hit.
Next
It'd be
time, that's
on the
what we'll do.
floor, man. Be like, yeah, that's
My
gonna be a sad ending
administration
to the
has
show.
acted decisively to confront the world's leading state sponsor of terrorists.
Yeah, no.
The radical
Yeah, no.
regime in Iran. It is a radical regime. They do bad, bad things. To ensure this corrupt dictatorship never acquires nuclear weapons, I withdrew the United States from the disastrous Iran nuclear deal. And last fall, we put in place the toughest sanctions ever imposed by us on a country. We will not avert our eyes from a regime that chants death to America and threatens genocide against the Jewish people. We must never ignore the vile poison of anti-Semitism or those who spread its venomous creed. With one voice, we must confront this hatred anywhere and everywhere it occurs. Just months ago, 11 Jewish Americans were viciously murdered in an anti-Semitic attack on the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh. SWAT officer Timothy Matson raced into the gunfire and was shot 7 times chasing down the killer, and he was very successful. Timothy has just had his 12th surgery, and he's going in for many more. But he made the trip to be here with us tonight. Officer Matson, please.
He got shot 7 times and was successful at taking the guy down after getting shot 7 times? Fuck Cory Booker. Fuck Cory Booker, man. We expect, our bar was far too low. Far too.
Thank you. We are forever grateful. Thank you very much. Tonight, we are also joined by Pittsburgh survivor, Judah Samet. He arrived at the synagogue as the massacre began. But not only did Judah narrowly escape death last fall, more than 7 decades ago, he narrowly survived the Nazi concentration camps. Today is Judah's 81st birthday. They wouldn't do that for me, Judah. Judah says he can still remember the exact moment nearly 75 years ago, after 10 months in a concentration camp, when he and his family were put on a train and told they were going to another camp. Suddenly, the train screeched to a very strong halt. A soldier appeared. Judah's family braced for the absolute worst. Then his father cried out with joy, "It's the Americans! It's the Americans!" Thank you. A second Holocaust survivor who is here tonight, Joshua Kaufman, was a prisoner at Dachau. He remembers watching through a hole in the wall of a cattle car as American soldiers rolled in with tanks. To me, Joshua recalls.
I hate to bring this up, but wasn't Donald Trump the one who said he didn't like people who got captured?
They came down.
Do you remember that? When he was talking about John McCain, he said, "I prefer people who weren't captured."
I began this evening by honoring three soldiers who fought on D-Day in the Second World War. One of them was Herman Zaitchik. But there is more to Herman's story. A year after he stormed the beaches of Normandy, Herman was one of the American soldiers who helped Thank you. When American soldiers set out beneath the dark skies over the English Channel in the early hours of D-Day, 1944, they were just young men of 18 and 19, hurtling on fragile landing craft toward the most momentous battle in the history of war. They did not know if they would survive the hour. They did not know if they would grow old, but they knew that America had to prevail. Their cause was this nation and generations yet unborn. Why did they do it? They did it for America. They did it for us. Everything that has come since our triumph over communism, our giant leaps of science and discovery, our unrivaled progress towards equality and justice, all of it is possible thanks to the blood and tears and courage and vision of the Americans who came before. Think of this Capitol. Think of this very chamber where lawmakers before you voted to end slavery, to build the railroads and the highways, and defeat fascism, to secure civil rights, and to face down evil empires. Here tonight, we have legislators from across this magnificent republic. You have come from the rocky shores of Maine and the volcanic peaks of Hawaii, from the snowy woods of Wisconsin and the red deserts of Arizona, from the green farms of Kentucky and the golden beaches of California. Together, we represent the most extraordinary nation in all of history. What will we do with this moment? How will we be remembered? I ask the men and women of this Congress, look at the opportunities before us. Our most thrilling achievements are still ahead. Our most exciting journeys still await. Our biggest victories are still to come. We have not yet begun to dream. We must choose whether we are defined by our differences or whether we dare to transcend them. We must choose whether we squander our great inheritance or whether we proudly declare that we are Americans. We do the incredible. We defy the impossible. We conquer the unknown. This is the time to reignite the American imagination. This is the time to search for the tallest summit and set our sights on the brightest star. This is the time to rekindle the bonds of love and loyalty and memory that link us together as citizens, as neighbors, as patriots. This is our future, our fate, and our choice to make. I am asking you to choose greatness. No matter the trials we face, no matter the challenges to come, we must go forward together. We must keep America first in our hearts. We must keep freedom alive in our souls. And we must always keep faith in America's destiny. That one nation, under God, must be the hope and the promise and the light and the glory among all the nations of the world. Thank you,
glory.
God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you.
God bless America indeed. Now Donald Trump is going to do his walk out, and it's probably going to be glad-handed and all that good stuff.
Oh, fuck.
So what did you think? Like, I brought you here because before I give my own perspective of the speech, I want your perspective. You don't follow politics in the way that I follow politics, and oftentimes your eyes just, that's me being abusive. Oftentimes you just kind of I'm sorry. Oftentimes you not fully pay attention to the stuff. So
What are you asking me? What did I think?
what did you think?
That was horse shit.
Well, be a little bit more a little bit more
It was
specific.
painful horse shit.
Now, why was it painful? So let me say it this way. Is there any part of the speech that you looked at and you were like, fair enough? Is that hard? Even when he was talking, I think he mentioned bringing troops home at one point.
I didn't hear that.
Well, he's talking about trying to end the wars in Afghanistan, and we've been in war for 19 years. We need to do et cetera, et cetera. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean he's bringing everybody home, but it is this idea that he's bringing or trying to bring some home.
Well,
The entire media has been against him on this, and politicians have been against him on this. That's why he's.
I don't have to be in the political arena to think that this was bullshit. I just have to be of sound body and mind to see that this is bullshit. It's painful to watch him. He makes me cringe, and I can't get past that to actually listen to what he's saying.
Anything that's coming out of his mouth at that point.
And then the few times that I did tune in to what he was saying, it was bullshit. He paraded people like
That was brutal. Like, that was hard to watch. I don't know if this is just me. I don't typically like stuff like that. And Donald Trump went around the rainbow finding somebody who is a Mexican who locks up Mexicans, or a Dominican Republican who locks up Dominican Republicans. He found a few black people that he pulled out of prison, so they're profoundly grateful to him. He found somebody who got their family killed.
Wait. then when he talked about the people who were released from prison, he talked about taking charge of your own life.
Yeah, right. This person had been in prison for like 20 years. Yeah, some insane amount of time. And he's like, it shows you that you can take control of your own life and that outside forces, etc., etc. No, outside forces sometimes impinge upon your life. I guarantee you that regardless of what you want to think of that woman, she wouldn't have been a minister because she wouldn't have been in prison if the way our laws were written would have been different. All right, so what about, there was a criminal justice thing that they did that apparently everybody stood up for. And, you know, applauding the women and everything else. Was there any substance in the speech?
The criminal justice part?
Well, they passed the criminal justice bill. That one-step program, that African-American gentleman, that was one of the things that
he was the first person to get released based off of the one-step program. I don't know enough about it to applaud or anything else. I mean, I'm glad that guy's out of jail.
Yeah,
I'm willing to bet that he probably shouldn't have been there in the first place.
But that's the messed up part about the way that is. It's like, I'm gonna, you know, you may hate my guts. I'm Donald Trump, but I am associating myself right now with this kid with brain cancer, and I'm gonna spend essentially a pittance to investigate brain cancer. But healthcare for everybody, no, I'm going to try to weaken healthcare by passing Trump care. You know, like, this is nonsense. So I feel you on that front. Not to mention, knowing anything, those tax cuts went to the top 1% almost entirely. I think like 80-something% went to the top 1%. This regard for the society, like the saying of our economic prosperity and all this other stuff. 95% of the wealth went to the top 1%. That number is damning to me. 40% of Americans are living in this kind of insolvency where they kind of on a hamster wheel. If your job is not providing you with a standard of living where you can be somewhat comfortable and take care of yourself and your family, then what is the value of that job? I understand that, yes, you may, you know, make a certain amount, but if it's not enough to make the ends meet,
what's the point?
Right. It puts you into this situation of I can't make ends meet.
Well, that's like when he said more Americans are working now than ever. No shit.
Yes, right. Because they have to.
They have to.
It's like they're getting 2-3 jobs.
To pay the bills.
Yeah, not to mention the gig economy, all these people on Uber. It's like if you're factoring Uber into the job thing, like, you know, it's like, yes, those people are working every so often on Uber, but is that the job that you really want? It doesn't have benefits, doesn't have any of the stuff that you would associate with the job. All right. So you weren't feeling the speech. That's what it boils down to.
You knew that before this got started.
I guess I looked at it, and it's an actor who, you know, I don't even know if Trump knew what D-Day was, let alone, you know, so it's like when he's saying this stuff, it's stuff that I know that he's essentially been given a script to read. Because I got to be honest, I've started to agree with Garnome on this. I don't think he makes foreign policy choices. In fact, I suspect that what takes place is he may have had somewhat of a bias in a particular way where he's like, I want to get out of Syria, I want to get out of Syria, I want to get out of Syria. In which case he may try to push that, but that's always pushing up against those people who are around him who are making the actual decisions in this process and either moderate whatever Trump is saying or completely nix it. You know, it's like, I don't think it's... I had a conversation with a guy today, and he was telling me about Trump and why he was voting for Trump, and I was like, but you realize he is not doing that stuff. And his thing was, yeah, but, you know, the Democrats are horrible, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know. The speech was just Trump. I paid too much attention to politics. All the stuff seems to be, you know, not necessarily the most honest in the world. Donald Trump lies flagrantly. Well,
they all lie. Some of them
yeah,
do
but
it
he does
better. Some of them, it's a little easier to take the pill. It's just
he takes it at a level that is obscene, and it's so obscene that it's almost as if it's like, but dude, you realize that we know you're lying, right? And he just plows through it anyway.
There's a phone number for C-SPAN. You can oppose?
President Trump's priorities, do you support or oppose? They're trying to get a poll.
So I can call to say that I oppose President
Yes,
Trump's
you can
priorities?
call. You can call
on the air
and say that you oppose.
I oppose that whole shit. That whole... How many minutes of my life did I just lose now? I oppose.
What, like an hour? They said it was the longest?
It was an hour and 37 minutes of my life.
Yeah, that was brutal. I didn't think it was going to be that long. Bernie Sanders is supposed to be giving a response, and so is Stacey Abrams. Apparently, Bernie Sanders is racist for giving a response when a black woman is giving a response because, you know, reasons, I suppose. I don't know what those reasons fully are.
We have to. You have to give
Oh.
a shout out to
Wicked Guru, Jamal, glad I found somewhere to hang out after this nonsense. Can't wait for Stacey Abrams and Bernie's rebuttal. Yes, I can't wait for theirs either. There was another one.
Where was the other one?
Keep going. Hold on. I could kill this at this point.
It's a lot of
Let's see.
commentaries.
All right, Sean McCoy. Shout out to Sean McCoy. Again, Patrick Scarpati, and maybe a shot. Atlas Kinzel. Glad get you something good to eat after this shit show, and a shot. I'm probably just gonna do the shot first, because that was brutal.
We should have done shots before this.
Shots would have been funny, but I don't want to be sloshing.
We should have done a
drunk.
shot every time he said something. Can we do that for Bernie Sanders? Are we watching the Bernie Sanders one?
Yeah, I'm game to watch the Sanders one if you
How
are.
long is that gonna take?
Sanders one, it's hard to know. I mean, I gotta be honest. I didn't think Trump's one was gonna be that long. Let's see.
Somebody said the worst thing about the speech is when Trump tried the white savior bit. No way Trump memorized 90 minutes of speech. Yeah, no, that didn't happen.
No,
He was
I don't believe
reading
that.
off that teleprompter.
Check donations. You forgot at the end, you have 3 streams of backlogs. Barn burner. I'm so desperate for a candidate who's willing to call out the military as the assassin training ground it is and willing to mercilessly rip the Democrats to shred. I need presidential mic drop Sam Roman. Oh, he's joking me because I was saying, listening to Tulsi Gabbard, I need Tulsi Gabbard to be a little bit more aggressive in her speech. I needed her to be a little bit more,
Those
like
were
that speech.
yesterday.
It was a low energy speech. I know, but I didn't get the chance to. I didn't see him yesterday. How much righteous anger could you muster with constant tropical drinks and poke? And poke? What's poke? That was an aloha energy speech. Maybe. I don't know if you saw Tulsi Gabbard's speech. Tulsi Gabbard did the speech that was really low energy. I like what she was saying, but it was just kind of like...
She kind of droned.
A little bit like, my aloha, and aloha is love, and I'm giving you my love. And it's like, oh, yeah, baby. It's a little dicey. It's a little dicey. I don't feel the fluff in those speeches. Give me your policies. Tell me your policies. That's all I care about. Give me your policies. Oh, that's all I want to know. To be fair... How much righteous anger could Tulsi? I just don't think she has the name recognition and popularity of Bernie Sanders yet. She also has to contend with running on the Democratic ticket, and it's subject to the approval of verification of Tom Perez. That is true. But she's going to have to distinguish herself at some point.
Wait, can I read this next one?
Yeah, go for it.
Drain the swamp? What the?
Drain the swamp?
He said, yeah, go for it. You can read it. And then
wait.
United Methodist Ministers,
Stacey
an
Abrams.
expression
Stacey
of the
Abrams, guys.
faith that guides us. These were our family values: faith, service, education, and responsibility. Now, we only had one car, so sometimes my dad had to hitchhike and walk long stretches during the 30-mile trip home from the shipyards. One rainy night, my mom got worried. We piled in the car and went out looking for him, and we eventually found my dad making his way along the road, soaked and shivering in his shirt sleeves. When he got in the car, my mom asked if he'd left his coat at work. He explained that he'd given it to a homeless man he'd met on the highway. When we asked why he'd given away his only jacket, my dad turned to us and said, "I knew when I left that man he'd still be alone, but I could give him my coat because I knew you were coming for me." Our power and strength as Americans lives in our hard work and our belief in more. My family understood firsthand that while success is not guaranteed, we live in a nation where opportunity is possible. But we do not succeed alone. In these United States, when times are tough, we
John
can
Hill, I don't believe that
persevere
story
because
either.
of
I'm sitting
friends.
here like
Our
Stacey Abrams is not
comes
telling the truth on the
our
story.
John
first
Hill said she
responders
lying.
will
I just
come
was
to
wrong. I
us.
was like,
It is this mantra,
walk those 30 miles.
uncommon grace of community, that has driven me to become an attorney, a small business owner, a writer, and most recently, the Democratic nominee for governor of Georgia. My reason for running was simple. I love our country and its promise of opportunity for all. And I stand here tonight because I hold fast to my father's credo. Together, we are coming for America, for a better America. Just a few weeks ago, I joined volunteers to distribute meals to furloughed federal workers. They waited in line for a box of food and a sliver of hope since they hadn't received paychecks in weeks. Making livelihoods of our federal workers a pawn for political games is a disgrace. The shutdown was a stunt engineered by the President of the United States, one that defied every tenet of fairness and abandoned not just our people, but our values. For 7 years, I led the Democratic Party in the Georgia House of Representatives. I didn't always agree with the Republican speaker or governor, but I understood that our constituents didn't care about our political parties, they cared about their lives. So when we had to negotiate criminal justice reform or transportation or foster care improvements, the leaders of our state didn't shut down. We came together and we kept our word. It should be no different in our nation's capital. We may come from different sides of the political aisle, but our joint commitment to the ideals of this nation cannot be negotiable. Our most urgent work is to realize Americans' dreams of today and tomorrow, to carve a path to independence and prosperity that can last a lifetime. Children deserve an excellent education from cradle to career. We owe them safe schools and the highest standards, regardless of zip code. Yet this White House responds timidly, while first graders practice active shooter drills, and the price of higher education grows ever steeper. From now on, our leaders must be willing to tackle gun safety measures and face the crippling effect of educational loans, to support educators and invest what is necessary to unleash the power of America's greatest minds. In Georgia and around the country, people are striving for a middle class where a salary truly equals economic security. But instead, families' hopes are being crushed by Republican leadership that ignores real life or just doesn't understand it. Under the current administration, far too many hard-working Americans are falling behind, living paycheck to paycheck, most without labor unions to protect them from even worse harm. The Republican tax bill rigged the system against working people. Rather than bringing back jobs, plants are closing, layoffs are looming, and wages struggle to keep pace with the actual cost of living. We owe more to the millions of everyday folks who keep our economy running, like truck drivers forced to buy their own rigs, farmers caught in a trade war, small business owners in search of capital, and domestic workers serving without labor protections. Women and men who could thrive if only they had the support and freedom to do so. We know bipartisanship could craft a 21st century immigration plan, but this administration chooses to cage children and tear families apart. Compassionate treatment at the border is not the same as open borders. President Reagan understood this. President Obama understood this. Americans understand this. And Democrats stand ready to effectively secure our ports and borders. But we must all embrace that from agriculture to healthcare to entrepreneurship, America is made stronger by the presence of immigrants, not walls. And rather than suing to dismantle the Affordable Care Act, as Republican attorneys general have, our leaders must protect the progress we've made and commit to expanding healthcare and lowering costs for everyone. My father has battled prostate cancer for years. To help cover the cost, I found myself sinking deeper into debt, because while you can defer some payments, you can't defer cancer treatment. In this great nation, Americans are skipping blood pressure pills, forced to choose between buying medicine or paying rent. Maternal mortality rates show that mothers, especially Black mothers, risk death to give birth. And in 14 states, including my home state, where a majority want it, our leaders refuse to expand Medicaid, which could save rural hospitals, save economies, and save lives. We can do so much more. Take action on climate change. Defend individual liberties with fair-minded judges. But none of these ambitions are possible without the bedrock guarantee of our right to vote. Let's be clear. Voter suppression is real.
This is her issue, by the way. She was cheated. I covered her election over and over again because she was being
to
robbed.
Rejecting lawful ballots. We can no longer ignore these threats to democracy.
I don't mean like.
Well, I acknowledge the results of the 2018 election here in Georgia. I did not, and we cannot accept efforts to undermine our right to vote. That's why I started a nonpartisan organization called Fair Fight to advocate for voting rights. This is the next battle for our democracy, one where all eligible citizens can have their say about the vision we want for our country. We must reject the cynicism that says allowing every eligible vote to be cast and counted is a power grab. Americans understand that these are the values our brave men and women in uniform and our veterans risk their lives to defend. The foundation of our moral leadership around the globe is free and fair elections, where voters pick their leaders, not where politicians pick their voters. In this time of division and crisis, we must come together and stand for and with one another. America has stumbled time and again on its quest towards justice and equality. But with each generation, we have revisited our fundamental truths, and where we falter, we make amends. We fought Jim Crow with the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act. Yet we continue to confront racism from our past and in our present, which is why we must hold everyone from the highest offices to our own families accountable for racist words and deeds, and call racism what it is, wrong. America achieved a measure of reproductive justice in Roe v. Wade,
man. Call
but we must
racism
never
what it is.
forget
Well, you've just
it is
identified it
immoral
as racism.
to allow
but
politicians to harm women and families to advance a political agenda. We affirmed marriage equality, and yet the LGBTQ community remains under attack. So, even as I am very disappointed by the president's approach to our problems, I still don't want him to fail. But we need him to tell the truth and to respect his duties and respect the extraordinary diversity that defines America. Our progress has always been found in the refuge, in the basic instinct of the American experiment, to do right by our people. And with a renewed commitment to social and economic justice, we will create a stronger America together. Because America wins by fighting for our shared values against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That is who we are. And when we do so, never wavering, the state of our union will always be strong. Thank you, and may God bless the United States of America.
I don't know. For a moment, there was a racist television operator who digitized her face in that speech. That's what I'm going with. I don't know if that's true or not, but I'm running with it.
Oh, we got 106 people.
Oh, nice. All right, let's find Bernie Sanders, because I'm sure Bernie Sanders at some point is going to have something to say about this. He did not look happy at the State of the Union, to put it mildly. Here we are.
Yeah, he was about to punch
Yeah,
somebody in the
he
face.
was not. That's 1 year ago. All right, that's not the one I'm looking for.
Did you watch State of the Union last year?
Yeah, I did.
Glad I missed that shit.
Where is Bernie Sanders' video? Let's try
Where
Facebook.
is? Oh, somebody just said Bernie should be on Facebook.
All right, let's try Facebook.
Are you going to talk about Abrams?
Yeah, go ahead. do you
No,
think?
are you gonna talk about it?
I could talk about Abrams, but I'm gonna let you go first.
My thing?
Your thing. I don't want to give my thoughts. I don't want people saying I'm being sexist, but he's proud. He's mansplaining to his wife.
Oh, I can say what I feel about her because
Yes.
I'm a woman, so it won't be sexist, and I'm African American, so it won't be racist, right?
Both of y'all have curly hair.
And she got curly hair too. Somebody in the chat.
Somebody said
What's that
Rachel
racist
Magic.
guy's name that's in your chat?
I don't
Skip Rock?
He's
He's racist and sexist. I've seen him say some pretty suspect shit in the chat. But he said, does anybody else want to touch her hair? No. No, sir. Okay? No.
That's
yes.
frowned upon,
Somebody
Skip.
said yes.
That's
Skip Rock.
frowned upon,
Yes,
Skip.
he is fucking. I've heard him say some inappropriate shit.
That's frowned upon, Skip.
She was okay. At least she had some feelings. She sounded like a commercial.
She's a Democrat.
I know, but
I know
it's
this. I mean, I know that sounds bad, but this is kind of my point. Where I'm saying I want Sanders to also give a State of the Union rebuttal, because ultimately she's representing the Democratic Party, and at the end of the day, she's just a Democrat. It's not like even in that thing, she didn't say Medicare for all. If you notice, she said expand affordable care, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, she's not gonna say things directly.
She could, if you believe in Medicare for all, say it.
Yeah, but that you can't tiptoe around stuff like they do in politics. Like,
What are you talking about?
they don't like to be blunt and just say stuff. They like to insinuate.
I will say this:
kind of
if
say-
you're talking about Medicare for all, you're saying Medicare for all. I mean, there's no bang for your buck in dancing around it. Either you believe it or you don't. And the fact that she didn't say it is indicative of her not necessarily believing it.
Somebody said that was a weak response from Abrams. Bernie's gonna rip a new one.
Yes.
Being called out by Trump. Yeah, he looked like he was pissed.
Yeah, he looked
Like his lips were all turned in. He was like,
I'm gonna have to punch somebody. Yeah, he wanted to run up
he
there.
wanted to catch Trump out in the hallway.
All right, I don't know where.
Go to people for Bernie Sanders or Bernie Sanders.
Well,
You're not
I went to
on
Bernie Sanders.
Facebook page? What kind of monster
I went to
are you?
Bernie Sanders' Facebook page. All right, U.S. Senator Bernie Sanders.
I want to hear Bernie's speech, and if he doesn't run, I know the progressives are a joke. Somebody said they lost the link to. Where can we find Bernie?
Yeah, let's see.
Did you just like Google it?
Yeah, I'm just Googling. Bernie
Somebody
Sanders.
said Nancy Pelosi is going to beat her maid to death tonight. Cardinal. That's inappropriate.
That's funny.
Does she have a record of like violence against?
No, I have no idea. I have no
Is he making
idea.
that up?
Oh, here we are. Bernie Sanders' response to the State of the Union 5 hours ago.
No, they can't be 5 hours.
No, it's 4 minutes. All right, so Bernie Sanders is coming up apparently,
Okay,
and
Bernie will be on in
4
4 minutes on Fox News,
On
my
Fox
favorite
News.
news show.
all right, so that means I can't show it on this one. I need to find it on Bernie Sanders' link because I don't want Fox News to ding
He's
me.
gonna have to go on Facebook Live thing. Yeah, Fox News is gonna get in your ass.
They're gonna ding me. They're gonna be like, this guy
They're
is
looking for people like
Yeah.
you to stream their stuff.
fucking around and hit a copyright violation.
Yeah, somebody says Stacey does read better than Trump. Fred Edward. I agree.
She does
It-
read better than
It
Trump.
was more
Fair enough.
enjoyable to watch. She had more emotion in the shit that she was spewing. Not spewing, but
I agree with her in general. I mean, like, it's like, yes, voting rights, we need to secure voting rights, but these are so low bars. Like, let's make sure that people can vote. Yes, we should make sure people can vote. Is there a little bit something more expansive? And voting, don't get me wrong, I've said voting is the bedrock of a country. I mean, ultimately, that's the thing that you have to try to create a distinguishing thing of who you want versus who they want and try to get a public support or a public majority for your benefit or for the things that you want. So I'm not shirking that. And again, she was completely robbed. And there are various states where these guys use voter suppression in order to monkey with the results. So fair enough.
somebody said, are we really at the point where
Fair
we're
enough.
patting these people on the back for reading well?
Yeah, that's where
all
we are.
got.
That's where we are. That's where we are.
I gotta say, this is why I love Bernie Sanders. Y'all can hate me if you want to. I know some of your people have some kind of feeling about
Fuck them.
Bernie Sanders, but one of the reasons I love Bernie Sanders is because I believe everything his ass said. I mean,
And we are living in the world that Sanders created. I mean, think of the world we're in. Like the conversations that we're having in politics now is Medicare for all, expanded college. You have candidates who or at this point, acknowledge, okay, this is a litmus test for me to get through the primaries. Like, that's some big fucking, like, change. Like, even going to the thing of, there was something else that took place. Like, he's been browbeating these various companies, like the $15 thing, yeah, fight for 15 and all. Those are things where the conversation itself has shifted in and of itself. I mean, for fuck's sake, Elizabeth Warren is talking about a wealth tax. Bernie Sanders, of course, is damn sure talking about a wealth tax, but it's not put through the context of a wealth tax. Elizabeth Warren's one is a little bit different, and we're not even sure if hers is legal. Bernie Sanders' one would be legal. I guess I'm saying the argument and the position of the argument, I would prefer to be on the side of the left. And I say that because the viewpoint, the Overton window from the vantage point of the arguments itself has shifted, and it shifted as a response to him.
No,
like,
wait. I'm just talking about
the 70% tax thing. Like, even that.
You've gone so far beyond what I was trying to say.
My bad.
I'm just talking about his appeal in speaking.
Because he just sounds like he's talking to you.
Genuine.
Yeah. Not to mention what he's saying is true.
Right. I mean, he sounds like he really believes it. And he's ready to fight
the fucking socialist.
He believes in that fucking socialism.
Have you seen Richard Wolff? Like, if you ever get a chance to watch Richard Wolff, and Richard Wolff is doing one of his lectures. Richard Wolff
be passionate like that.
It's micro expressions where he gets into this thing where it's like the socialist rage that's in him, where he's like,
you gotta show me one of those.
Cocksuckers are taking our money, like they're exploiting us. Like, he gets, it's in him, man. It's in him. You can see it. When Sanders gets out there, he gives his, it's in him. It's in him.
Yeah, he sounds like he will punch somebody in the face for what he believes in. I believe that shit. Well,
you saw him get dragged away.
And he makes you want to punch somebody in the face.
Oh, baby.
Like, when he comes up and he does his... How many times did you listen to that speech? One of those speeches, it was like... Oh, I don't remember the speech it was they were using, like, in the commercial or something. One of the
It was a commercial,
speeches,
right.
But
it gets you riled up.
The difference is... Abrams sounds like a commercial where she's just selling shit. Whereas Bernie was so passionate.
He sounds like he believes.
And so genuine. Yeah. Make that shit a commercial. Like, he just...
It's like, they all have a right.
He's enjoyable to watch. That's kind of why everybody liked Obama. He was, charismatic. But I believe Bernie. Like,
yeah, it's a little bit different.
Yeah. I think he's actually...
The guy was calling himself a socialist as opposed to a guy who was a conservative. Let's see. I am looking for...
Oh, wait. You got to give a shout out to... Hold on. Let's go back.
And let me make
John Hill, keep it real. That was, I think that's a trash can.
Oh,
keep it real. That was.
Trash. I know people joke me when I said Tulsi Gabbard needed to have a little bit more pep in her speech.
But you do.
But you do. Like, you are trying to impart something to somebody of a certain degree of immediacy. This needs to take place right now. Now, I am the person who's going to make this work, and I'm going to person who's going to fix this particular problem because I haven't.
Oh, Bernie, let's feel the burn.
Sorry, I got excited. Me, sir. No,
Sean McCoy gave a donation.
Thank you, Sean McCoy.
He didn't leave a anything. To
I
say.
love it. Leave a blurb. I like to leave a blurb. All right.
Somebody's chanting Bernie.
Where is he? I don't see him. Where is he?
Bernie. Come on, babe, get it together.
I don't know where he is.
We can't watch it on Fox News.
Well, this is Fox, but...
We're trying to find him. I thought he was up on Facebook.
Well, this is his page.
Scroll down a little.
Let's try videos.
Where is he? Somebody said Bernie's on. Where are you guys watching this?
Alright, let's try...
Somebody said Politics Now or something like that. Somebody's chanting Bernie again. Where is Bernie? Wait, somebody said sorry, I lied.
Oh, where is don't he? Do that.
Where is Bernie?
Don't do that. Look at all these people saying, you see how news
give us Bernie. A link to Bernie.
And look, I love this on Fox News. Like, Bernie is a wimp, he'll never win. I love this. Oh, man. Let's see. Let's
look up his YouTube channel.
Yeah,
Bernie Sanders got a YouTube channel?
Bernie Sanders has an entire YouTube channel.
What?
Yes, he does.
I'm behind in the times.
Right. Where is it?
You don't have Bernie Sanders?
I do.
You don't subscribe to Bernie
it's
Sanders?
Right there. There it is. I even said reminder when you were like, look at that. We were like, where's that
videos?
Reminder?
He's not live. Where are you guys watching him?
All right, here we are.
Right
here we are. All right, so waiting for Bernie Sanders.
It's not live yet.
It's not live. It's waiting for Sanders. I love this picture. This picture is epic. It's like when a man comes around. It's like Wolverine and Old Man Logan. I hurt myself. You know, the Johnny Cash thing.
Somebody said Jamal can have a YouTube channel, but Bernie can't. Bernie Sanders can have.
Bernie Sanders has a YouTube channel. He has 150,000.
I think they're talking about me being.
Oh, like laughing at the.
First of all, he's not running that himself. I don't know that he's all that tech savvy.
Well, he has been. You know, he's used this as a jumping off point, as a platform for his. Because, look, I honestly. He's gonna run. I don't believe that he would have done all of this to run. He kept all of this, doing all of these State of the Union addresses. He's gonna run.
Somebody said it looks like he's taking a piss.
He does. That's fucked up. That's fucked up. Because the mom is like, yeah, once you see it, you can't unsee it. Like, I look at this as epic.
It looks like he's taking a painful piss. Look at that.
I mean, he, 80? He probably has a large prostate. You know, times is hard, man. But he still gets out there and, you know, do that socialism thing for his country. The thing is, I didn't look at that this way. I know you guys are looking at it that in such a horrible way. But I looked at this as a man who's under a Trump presidency in a hyper-capitalistic country that calls himself a socialist, that is reviled by a bunch of hillbots and yet supported by a large body of the population, and has taken the weight of the world on his shoulders to drag, you know, to re-ensoul the Democratic Party. That's the way I looked at this picture. I took this picture. Dramatic, epic. I don't know what he was doing in this moment, but I imagine he was giving a speech. I don't think he was taking a piss.
Somebody said he's pissing on Trump.
He's pissing on Trump. But once you see it, man, for fuck's sake, you can't unsee it. Like, you're stuck with the image.
Looks like he's peeing.
It does, it does.
There's 2,993 people waiting for Bernie to go live.
Yeah, he has right many people. Yeah, he has a lot of people waiting on him.
So what do we think Bernie's
So
gonna
let me
talk
think.
about?
So it's the Abrams. So let me talk about Abrams for a moment. I agree with you on this, and maybe I'm a sucker for a war speech. I'm not a big fan of wars, but I am a sucker for somebody to get in front of me and gets me riled. I'm like, yes, let's go kick some ass. Let's do it. I like that. I'm a sucker for that. I get off on those emotions. When people don't necessarily do that, it's a technical speech. I can listen to it. I can, you know, I think of it and I engage it in an intellectual way. But there's something else when you tap the energy of an individual, like at their core, something that's true, something that resonates, and something that's real. And you hit it in a straightforward, hard, brutal way that evokes a certain amount of cathartic, you know, joy within the person who's hearing this. I'm saying this as somebody who's been to Sanders rallies, and I've seen him come out like a rock star. This is like an 80-year-old man who just gets out there and just recites policy. Like, so it is something that he's saying that is resonating with these people. The question becomes, what is the distinction between a Sanders speech versus an Abrams speech? And why is it such a low energy difference between the two when you leave the experience? And look, to be fair to Abrams, I just sat through an entire thing of Trump. I've been beaten down as a man in this. I think you'd acknowledge the same thing, right? You're beaten down as a woman.
I'm about to say, no, I'm not beaten down as a man. I'm beaten down as a human.
As a human being, fair enough. So, you know, it could have been like, all right, my energies have been depleted listening to the Abrams speech. I don't think that's the case.
Somebody said, the Order of Chaos says, MLK was against emotionally charged speeches. He said we need to approach issues with critical thinking, not emotionalism.
MLK was a hypocrite then. I'm sorry. If that's true, if MLK said that, I've heard Noam Chomsky say that. I've never heard MLK say that. But if he did say that, he is a hypocrite. Because I defy you to listen to any of Martin Luther King's sermons and come away with it as if it's this passive thing in which you're kind of walking by. That's utter nonsense. I would say listen to his speech about the Vietnam War. Do you honestly think he sat there and recited that speech like Noam Chomsky would recite that speech? No, it was fire and fury when he was going after the Vietnam War. It wasn't something to be passive about. There's an injustice that's afoot. What are you supposed to do? I mean, for fuck's sake. Are you going to get in the game or get in the game? I guess... Yeah, I have a different way of processing this stuff, maybe. Fair enough, I'm an Aries moon. I process that stuff in a somewhat of a more visceral way. And it's not that I need that all the time, but you're in a political space and you're trying to get people to listen to you and pay attention to you. And
you have to get attention.
Yeah, and I don't mean, you know, don't be unwrong, don't be brutal, don't be unfair, none of that stuff. But you can nail a speech that is policy precise, while simultaneously tapping something within the individual who you're aiming that speech at. Just saying. Call me an asshole for thinking that way, but that's the way I think. It's not right or wrong.
John Hill, thank you for the super chat. He says, who will cry more when Bernie doesn't run? Me or Jamal?
Oh, wait, here we go.
He's live. Bernie's here.
I know that it is late, and I'm not going to go on for too long. And let me also just congratulate Stacey Abrams for her very, very effective response to President Trump's State of the Union. Now we, I think, all know why she would have been a wonderful governor of Georgia. I know that this will probably not shock you, but I hate to say this, but not everything Donald Trump said tonight was true or accurate. Tonight, when we talk about the economy, tonight and on numerous occasions since he has taken office, President Trump has told the American people that the U.S. economy is the hottest economy anywhere in the world, that it is really booming. Well, that may be true for the members of his Mar-a-Lago country club, where the price of admission has doubled to $200,000.
Yes, this is what
for
you
those
do.
folks who
Hit
go
him.
to Trump's club, and for the wealthiest
response. That's
people
some
in our
canned
nation,
All
Trump
the
is right.
bullshit.
Yeah.
The economy is really booming. In fact, for many
State of the
of
Union.
President Trump's billionaire friends, the truth is they have never, ever had it so good. But for the middle class and for the working families of our country, the truth is that the economy is not so great. Over the last year, for example, real inflation accounted for wages for the average American worker is up by all of 1.2%, just $9.11 a week. In fact, real wages for that same worker, that average American worker, are lower today than they were in 1973. Let me repeat that. The average American worker, after adjusting for inflation, is earning less today than he or she did 46 years ago, despite huge increases in productivity. Sadly, millions of American workers are now forced to work 2 or 3 jobs just to pay the bills and to keep their heads above water economically. In America today, and somehow or another, President Trump didn't mention this in his speech, we have more wealth and income inequality than almost any major country on earth. And it is more unfair, more unequal now than at any other time since the Gilded Age of the 1920s. Yes, the economy is great for the 3 wealthiest people in America who own more wealth than the bottom half of our country, 160 million Americans. Yes, the economy is great for the top 1% who now earn 46% of all new income in our economy. Yes, the economy is great for the top 25 hedge fund managers on Wall Street who made nearly twice as much income last year as all 140,000 kindergarten teachers in our country. 25 hedge fund managers. Yeah, the economy is great for the 5 richest people in America who have seen their wealth go up by over $100 billion since Trump was elected, and for corporations that have announced over $1 trillion in stock buybacks in 2018 alone. Yes, the economy may be great for those folks, but it is absolutely not booming for the nearly 80% of American workers who live paycheck to paycheck, desperately hoping that their child doesn't get sick, praying that their car doesn't break down, or that they don't lose their job. Despite what President Trump says, this is not a hot economy when 43% of households can't afford to pay for housing, food, childcare, health care, transportation, and a cell phone without going into debt. That is not a hot economy for ordinary Americans. The economy is not booming when half of Americans 55 years of age and older have no idea how they will live out the last years of their lives with dignity because they have no retirement savings. And that includes, unbelievably, 20% of seniors trying to survive on incomes of less than $14,000 a year. And I just don't know how anybody, certainly not a senior citizen, survives on $14,000 a year. This is not the strongest economy we have ever had, according to Trump, when hundreds of thousands of young people are unable to go to college because they can't afford it, and millions more are struggling with outrageous levels of student debt, when over 34 million Americans have no health insurance, when 1 out of 5 of our people cannot afford the medicine prescribed to them by their doctors, and when over 40 million people in our country are living in poverty. This is not an economy we should be proud of when we have the highest rate of childhood poverty in the developed world, and when life expectancy in the United States has actually gone down for the 3rd year in a row. And as we speak tonight, let us not forget that in America, millions of our people are working for starvation wages, $8 an hour, $9 an hour, $10 an hour. And here is the simple truth. Nobody can raise a family or pay the rent or take care of the necessities of life on these poverty wages. But you know what? I didn't hear Donald Trump talk about raising the minimum wage to a living wage at least $15 an hour. Somehow didn't talk about that. Tonight, President Trump talked about what a great job he has done on trade. But what he forgot to tell you is that the annual trade deficit has gone up by over $100 billion since he became president. And our trade deficit with China and Mexico has gone up by tens of billions of dollars. Meanwhile, since Trump was elected, corporations have shipped 185,000 American jobs overseas. President Trump also talked tonight about the need to rebuild our country's crumbling infrastructure, our roads and our bridges and our water systems and our wastewater plants. And he is absolutely right. It is an absolute disgrace that in the wealthiest nation on earth we have an infrastructure that is crumbling. But the proposal that he is bringing forth is dead wrong. It is an absurd proposal. Trump would encourage states to sell our nation's highways, our bridges, and other vital infrastructure to Wall Street, to wealthy campaign contributors, even to foreign governments. The reality is that Trump's plan to privatize our nation's infrastructure is an old idea that has never worked and, in fact, never will work. President Trump said tonight, quote, "We are born free and we will stay free," end of quote. Well, I say to President Trump, people are not truly free when they can't afford to go to the doctor when they are sick. People are not truly free when they cannot afford to buy the prescription drugs they desperately need. People are not truly free when they are unable to retire with dignity. People are not truly free when they are exhausted because they are working longer and longer hours for lower wages. People are not truly free when they cannot afford a decent place in which to live. People certainly are not free when they cannot afford to feed their families. As Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said in 1968, and I quote, "This country has socialism for the rich and rugged individualism for the poor," end quote. What Dr. King said then was true, and it is true today, and it remains absolutely unacceptable. Tonight, Donald Trump, who in less than 2 years in the White House has seen 5 aides either plead guilty or be convicted of criminal charges, claimed the strength of the economy was dependent on him being free from necessary oversight and investigations into wrongdoing by both his campaign and his administration. The exact opposite is true. America's strength is based on the rule of law and the fact that no one, not even the President of the United States, is above it. Tonight, in terms of crime, Trump talked about a terrible and heinous murder in Reno, Nevada, committed by an undocumented immigrant who happens to be Latino. In fact, as I think many of you will recall, over the last several years, Trump has talked time and time again about crimes committed by undocumented Latino immigrants. His demonization of Latinos is nothing less than racist. It is wrong, and it also happens to be factually inaccurate. Undocumented Latino immigrants commit fewer crimes in the United States than the general public. But I want you to think about something for a moment. Isn't it strange that when we talk about terrible crimes committed in the United States or in the state of Nevada, Donald Trump forgot to mention that in 2017, a white man named Stephen Paddock killed 58 people and wounded 851 in the deadliest shooting in modern American history. That also happened in Nevada. Now, how come Trump didn't mention that? If he is concerned about crime, how come Trump didn't talk about one of the worst mass murders in American history? Needless to say, he also didn't mention the need for common sense gun safety legislation, which would lower the terrible rate of mass shootings in our country. Tonight, Donald Trump repeated some of the most extreme anti-woman attacks coming from the far right. At a time when we see an unprecedented and coordinated attack against a woman's right to choose, it is incredibly important that we fight to make sure that every woman in this country has the right to control her own body. Tonight, Donald Trump correctly talked about the need to address the opioid crisis. Well, President Trump, you don't help people suffering from opioid addiction by writing a budget which calls for $1 trillion cut to Medicaid. That would be a devastating moment in the fight against opioid addiction. Now, as important as it is to respond to what President Trump said tonight, it is even more important to discuss some of what Trump refused to talk about, which happens to include some of the most important issues facing our country and the entire world. Now, how can a president of the United States give a State of the Union speech and not mention, not one word, about climate change when the leading scientists of the world tell us that climate change is real, that climate change is caused by human activity, and that climate change is already causing devastating harm in the United States and in much of the world. Further, the scientists tell us that we have a very short 12 years, not a lot of time, in order to transform our energy system away from fossil fuels and into energy efficiency and sustainable energy if we are going to have a planet that is healthy and habitable for our children and our grandchildren. Somehow or another, Donald Trump just forgot to talk about that. Trump also forgot to discuss the international embarrassment of the United States being the only major country on earth not to guarantee health care to all people as a right. Now, how can he ignore the fact that we spend far more per capita on health care than any other country on earth, while at the same time tens of millions of our fellow Americans are uninsured or underinsured? Somehow or another, Trump forgot to get to that issue. How can President Trump not discuss the terrible attacks that we are seeing to undermine the fundamentals of American democracy, which includes the disastrous Citizens United Supreme Court decision that allows billionaires to buy elections? Trump talked a lot about freedom tonight, but somehow or another, he didn't talk about governors' efforts all across this country, governors who are trying to suppress the vote and make it harder for poor people or people of color to vote. You can't talk about freedom in America and ignore the massive amounts of voter suppression taking place, denying people the right to participate in our democracy. Donald Trump talked about the economy, but he forgot to mention the fact that state after state is doing the right thing and is raising the minimum wage to a living wage, $15 an hour. But I didn't hear President Trump say that he would work with me and with other advocates of a living wage to raise the minimum wage at the federal level to $15 an hour. Somehow didn't get into that. How could President Trump not mention the words Social Security, Medicare, or Medicaid in his State of the Union speech when he promised over and over again during his campaign, you remember that? That he would not cut these programs? Could it be because his budget proposed massive cuts to Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security in direct violation of his campaign pledge? How could Trump not talk about the reality that Russia, through cyber warfare, interfered in our election in 2016, is interfering in democratic elections all over the world, and according to the heads of his own national security agencies, attempted to interfere in the 2018 midterm elections? How can the president say nothing about Yemen, where the humanitarian crisis where the worst humanitarian crisis in the world is currently taking place, brought on by a Saudi-led war that the United States is supporting? And just yesterday, a CNN report detailed how our Saudi and Emirati allies have been giving U.S.-made weapons to al-Qaeda-linked fighters in Yemen and have also fallen into the hands of Iranian-backed Houthi rebels. This war is a disaster, which is why the Senate passed a resolution that I sponsored last December, calling on the president to end our support for that terrible war, and why colleagues in both the House and the Senate reintroduced that legislation last week. This is an enormously important foreign policy issue. It speaks to our relationship with a despotic regime in Saudi Arabia. Somehow Trump forgot to mention that. President Trump has stated tonight and over and over and over and over again that building a wall on the Mexican border is a national emergency. In fact, he shut down the government and caused enormous pain and uncertainty for some 800,000 federal employees who were forced to go to work but were not paid, all because of his insistence on that wall. No, President Trump, building a wall is not an emergency. In terms of immigration in this country, what we need to do is not to waste billions of dollars on a wall, but to finally address the need for comprehensive immigration reform, including a path to citizenship for millions of undocumented people. It is inhumane and not what America stands for, that tiny children at the border have been torn apart from their parents. It is disgraceful that 1.8 million young people raised in the United States and who know no other country but the United States have lost their legal protection under the DACA program because of Trump's actions. It is heartbreaking that almost 11 million undocumented people living in this country, the overwhelming majority of whom are hardworking and law-abiding, worry every day about being deported and separated from their loved ones. What a president of the United States is supposed to do, and I think in a certain sense almost all presidents in recent history have understood that, is that when you're president, you bring our people together, whether they're black or white or Latino, whether they're Asian American, Native American, whether they're men or women, whether they're gay or straight. That's what a president is supposed to do. But in an unprecedented way, that is not what this president is doing. In fact, he is trying to divide us up. He is trying to have one group turn against another group. And that is certainly not what this country is supposed to be about. Trump said tonight that we should, quote, govern not as two parties, but as one nation. I agree. But Trump's agenda of providing tax breaks to billionaires while throwing millions of Americans off of health insurance is the exact opposite of what the American people want. If Trump truly wants to govern in a bipartisan manner, let's take a look at what the overwhelming majority of the American people want. In other words, I know this is a radical idea, but I say to the President of the United States, why don't you do what the American people want you to do rather than what wealthy campaign contributors want? Let me give you some examples. A Fox News poll conducted last month shows that 70% of Americans support a tax increase on families making over $10 million. According to Reuters, 70% of the American people, including 52% of Republicans, support Medicare for all. They understand that the current health system is not working, and they want to join every other country on earth in making health care a right, not a privilege. Another poll found that 72% of the American people, including 51% of Republicans, want to expand Social Security benefits. Make sure that our elderly people can retire in dignity, and do that by increasing taxes on millionaires and billionaires. According to Gallup, 76% of the American people, including large majorities of Republicans and Democrats, want us to spend $1 trillion on an infrastructure plan to create up to 15 million good-paying jobs. The Kaiser Family Foundation has found that 92% of Americans want Medicare to negotiate with pharmaceutical companies to lower prescription drug prices. 92%. That same poll also found that 72% of Americans, including 3/4 of Republicans, want the freedom to buy low-cost prescription drugs from Canada. Gallup tells us that 64% of Americans, including 51% of Republicans, believe marijuana should be legal. And that tells me that we should end the disastrous war on drugs. Quinnipiac tells us that Americans support by over 94%, requiring background checks for all gun purchases. CBS has found that 87% of Americans, including 79% of Republicans, want to allow immigrants who are brought to the United States as children to stay in our country. And according to a July 2018 survey paid for by the Koch brothers, 66% of Americans believe, quote, government-paid college tuition is an effective solution to social barriers. 65% of Americans believe that a $15 minimum wage is an effective solution to low wages. 69% of Americans believe that we need more regulation of Wall Street. And 69% of Americans also believe we should be increasing government assistance for childcare. My fellow Americans, if the overwhelming majority of Americans want us to pass these enormously popular initiatives, why can't Congress pass them? Why isn't Congress and the White House doing what the American people want them to do? And the answer, frankly, is not complicated. The answer has everything to do with the power of the moneyed interests. Wall Street, big drug companies, huge health insurance companies, the fossil fuel industry, multinational corporations in the billionaire class. All of these groups are spending hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars to get Congress to do their bidding. But while they may have the money, and God only knows they have an endless supply of money, we have something that is more powerful on our side, and that is that we have the people. They have the money, we have the people. If we are serious about transforming our country, if we are serious about rebuilding the shrinking middle class, if we are serious about reinvigorating our democracy and increasing voter turnout and bringing young people into the political process, let us bring our people together to take on and defeat a ruling class whose greed is destroying our nation. The billionaire class must learn that they cannot have it all. Our government belongs to each and every one of us, not just the few. Together, let us fight for economic, social, racial, and environmental justice. Let us end unbridled greed. Let us create the kind of America that we know we can become. Thank you all, and have a great night.
Bernie Sanders. So again, I'm gonna go to you first. What did you think? I think you'd like that one as opposed to the other ones. And I gotta be honest, it does show a disparity between an Abrams versus a Sanders. Just said it.
Of course I like Bernie Sanders better. Not sure what to say. Other than feel the burn. No, I'm just joking. I don't know. I mean, I just like Bernie Sanders. Somebody said, I think Gardner said, I gotta stop reading the comments. Said something about, that's his strength is giving speeches.
That is his strength.
But one of the reasons I like Bernie is because of his consistency. Somebody else said something about the same shit he's been saying for
40 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People are like, does he believe it? This is a good lie for him to be telling for 40 years.
Telling the same lie for 40 years.
To be fighting for. I mean, he does. Now wait. We do have to address the Russia statement.
Yeah, I was trying to let that glide.
Get the elephant out of the room.
I would say this, and this is me giving a defense for Sanders on this. So fair enough. Call me an asshole or whatever. This is campaign season, and leave your mothers at home. Like I guess my point is, if Sanders is the nominee, he is going to try to take a chunk out of Donald Trump by hook or by crook through any means that he has at his disposal. This is Superman in Doomsday, in which case he's reaching back to find a brick in order to hit him with. Whatever he can hit him with, he's going to hit him with. I mean,
Can we stick to the facts and hit him with that?
Well,
without bringing Russia into this?
I feel you, and all things being equal, I agree with you.
All things are equal.
No, all things are not being equal, because they're in a campaign, and his job is to win the presidency of the United States. And the fact of the matter is, there's been this thing that's been around Donald Trump with Trump and Russia and all this other stuff. You use the political landscape to your advantage to get from point A to point B. Just saying. I honestly, I think it would be a dereliction of duty for anybody who's donating to Sanders for Sanders to back away from the Russia stuff during a campaign.
Don't say it. Like, can't you just omit it?
I mean, you have to stir up your red meat Hillary supporters.
Okay, hold on. So we have to mention a super chat. Charles Pereira says Bernie deserves to get cheated again for this Russia bullshit. What this dipshit is hoping to achieve with this McCarthyism
yeah.
that is always turned against him.
I've never liked that either. And you know, the wild part about it is they used that against Sanders, saying that Sanders was motivated by Russia. I've even heard Sanders is a Putin puppet because Sanders was working off of information from the Russian government, ergo Sanders was working with the Russians. I've seen all sorts of shit. So this has bit him when he's gone this route. And let's also be honest, that what did supposedly the Russians do? They gave factually true information to WikiLeaks, at least going by the narrative, that showed that Hillary Clinton was cheating Bernie Sanders. The same Bernie Sanders is getting up here hitting Donald Trump for the Russia information.
Is there a way for Bernie to please everybody and just...
No.
Well, then he should just leave it and not mention it. He could have had a banging speech and still reach those same people, the Hillbots or whoever is subscribing to this Russia Mad Owl.
I don't know, man.
Peeps.
Those Hillbots are insane. Have you seen them
Without
when they're
saying
in that
that.
full vampire thing?
We have to
It's
wait.
like Vampire Diaries.
Patrick Seguin, support for JT. Oh, he says he has thyroid surgery.
Oh, Patrick, I'm sorry, man. I hope it goes okay.
Yeah.
That sucks. I'm sorry. I love this speech. It's brutal, but it's not overly so. It's not a barn burner. It's policy. Like, and not just policy. It's a State of the Union, in a literal sense of the word. Donald Trump says this, but this is the reality of it. Donald Trump says this is the reality of it. Here's the problems that affect Americans from the standpoint of the middle class and the poor. How come the President of the United States hasn't said anything about these things? And the things that he has said about them have been founded to be untrue. It's like, that is a brutal line of attack. Even going into the thing of, you know, the Latino men. Donald Trump keeps screaming about Latinos, and you find that, you know, there's a less correlation with people being injured or killed.
Well, that's the reason why this was a better speech and not just reading off the script. I mean, he was hitting Trump in the face
over and over,
which I enjoyed. I said I want a shirt that says "boomin'."
Yeah, because he kept doing it.
Because he kept talking about when Trump said
the
economy is booming. I said I want a shirt that says "boomin" on it. But he was very specific. He attacked specific points.
These were policy
for Trump's BS during the State of the Union. This was a response. Now I know Abrams probably, you know, wrote her speech like 2 weeks ago. So
I don't know when she wrote that speech.
She ain't write it today.
Wait. Why you said?
My point is,
you about to be racist. Go
I'm
ahead.
not being racist.
Go ahead. You about to say something real racist.
Why
do you believe that she wrote her speech 2 weeks ago?
Because she could have written that speech a year ago. It didn't address anything specific. It was just broad sweeps. Well, I know that I want to have a good policy or a good stand on this, so let me mention that. As opposed to Trump said this shit. Really, this is what's going on. And he started off and said, Trump's a fucking liar. And
and racist. And called him racist. Like with the Trump spread. To be fair to her, I don't necessarily know if she's been on that main stage like that where she had to give a rebuttal to the President of the United States. So just be fair to her. Like, this is out of her sandbox.
That's good, because she didn't give a rebuttal.
She didn't give a rebuttal. Sanders has been a creature of watching her for a while, and that is a proper rebuttal. In which case, you hit the president over and over and over again, especially if that president happens to be a liar. And you can hit him on those points while elucidating the truth of the matter. You like the word elucidated?
That's not a real word.
It is a real word. Fact check me.
Elucidating?
Yeah, fact check me.
Elucidating?
No. Elucidate.
Elucidating. DATING?
Look it up. It's a real word. Fact check me.
Okay, wait. You have to.
But just so I'm right. If you look that up, and I am
no.
correct,
No, you get nothing.
You owe me something.
You get nothing. Other than, oh, you were right, babe. That's all you got.
Nah, I want more than that.
Alucard the Immortal.
Yeah.
Is that how you pronounce that?
All
now I
one.
know why sometimes he messes up the words, because some of y'all got weird names on here.
It's like
Alucard the Immortal says, all is one and one is all. Listen to the wife. He also says, all things are equal. I love your wife. Okay. And somebody said, yes, he spoke about the climate crisis.
Yeah.
Yes.
He hit
because
climate,
when Abrams
environment.
was talking, somebody said, is she going to say anything about climate change? She did not.
She's trying to get voting rights.
Nunya Beeswax says, I think that piss took a little bit of his vinegar out of his speech.
No way.
Should have ended speech by announcing his presidency.
Oh, yes.
That is what I said.
We're sitting
that's
here.
what I was waiting for. I wanted him to be like, see y'all bitches in 2020.
And it's like, did he just announce? Yes, I just announced.
That would have been nice.
Oh, man, that would have been a... Can you imagine that? He gives a barn bird. See, the thing is, though, if he would have done that, they would have been hollering, how dare you take the piss out of Abrams. Yeah.
Yeah, they were like, how dare you steal our thunder.
That black woman was there.
He should say, I'm fucking Bernie Sanders, okay?
Trying to run for president, bitches. That's what he should try to say. That's what I'd say. Trying to run for president, bitches. I don't have time for this stuff. But that would have been an amazing thing. He gives a speech, and at the end of it, he's like, and I am proud, my fellow Americans, to announce my candidacy for president of the United States.
Ooh. What's the word that you said, babe?
Elucidate.
Elucidate?
Yeah.
Garden gnome says it's a word.
Of course it's a word. I said it.
Well, what the hell? What the hell does garden gnome know?
Bam. I don't think I would have said it if it wasn't a word.
Elucidating. Did you use it correctly?
Yep. You just don't know the word.
To make something clear or explain.
There's an irony to the fact that you had to look that up. Right? I love that. There's an irony.
Okay, elucidate.
It's like a living pun.
To elucidate is to make something clear that was formerly murky or confusing.
I already knew
like
the word,
whether
babe.
or not he knew what this word meant.
I already knew
or
the
if
word,
it was
babe.
a real. I'm reading it because somebody else said it.
I'm just saying, I already knew the word, babe.
Okay, Bernie honestly doesn't understand how ignorant he is. Ooh, I like Bernie, but he hasn't worked a day in his life. What?
What? What? I don't even know what that means.
I don't know where you were. He was just working.
He was just
at
working.
11:30 at night.
He was doing his job. When he's out there on the picket line, he's doing a job. When he's sitting in front of Congress, he's doing his job. All of that is work. All of that is work. Just saying.
Wicked Guru.
It's like, you better work, bitch. Wicked Guru. Despite the Russian nonsense, I thought this was a particularly good speech. I did too. He had all the good points. Blew Abrams' speech out of the water, but I'll keep that to myself so I won't be called sexist or racist, mind you. Or racist. Wicked Guru, yeah.
Yeah, he did. That was the big.
That was a really good speech. That was a really good speech. They're joking because they were calling Bernie Sanders racist and sexist doing his speech, and it's like, what? Him having a temerity, they give a speech, all of a sudden makes him sexist and racist. Yeah, it was a good speech. It was a good speech. Bernie Sanders, man, he can give a fucking speech.
Somebody says, Lorenzo Montoya, I predict Bernie won't run because he knows the DNC will something.
What does that say? Wait, go back up. The Order of Chaos. Damn, go scroll down a little bit, just a little bit. Up a little bit, right. Damn, JT, your better half does not give you a damn inch. No, she doesn't.
Okay, can I tell the story of why I don't let you slide with words anymore?
What do you mean? You don't let me slide with words?
Why? It took one time for me to not ever just believe what you say. Because I really feel like Jamarl is smarter than I am.
You just have different interests.
And he was using a word one time that I knew to be something different. And because I just believe him to be smarter than I am, I let that shit slide. And then he kept saying it over and over again. I was like, God, that doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound right. And I looked it up. He kept saying, can I say what you said?
I think I was calling it Peridium. It's
he
paradigm.
kept saying Peridium, and I was like, "Do you mean paradigm?" And the first time he was like, "No," and I was like, "Well, he knows better than I do because I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about." And he kept saying it, and I was like, "Peridium is not a word." Like I even got on Google and like hit the volume button to hear volume say the word out because it had me so fucked up.
Spelling it right, pronouncing it wrong.
I don't give him an inch. No, I have to fact check it.
It's not just words.
Miss Thomas Jamarl was right, so you owe him. No, I gave him credit. I
Yeah.
said I was wrong. He was right. Elucidate is
That
a
credit
word.
is not enough, yo.
Does he make up words?
No.
He
no.
doesn't.
I don't make up words.
I don't think he makes up words. It was that one time when he was
I just
saying
mispronounced it.
Peridium. He mispronounces words
mispronouncing
sometimes.
Yeah.
No.
That was a mispronunciation. It happens.
Let's see. Oh, they said they love how happy we are together.
Oh, that's nice.
Abram's speech was another example of the standard rep daddy dim mommy problem.
What?
I don't know what that is. Can't wait for Jamal's show when Sanders bows down again.
Oh, God.
Ooh, Bob Ramirez.
Yeah, Bob.
Ramirez.
He's like when he finally supports Hillary Clinton for the
Might be as good as
again.
TYT's show in November 2016.
I've told you, if Bernie Sanders gets cheated again and then turns around and supports Kamala Harris, I'm done. I'm folding up shop. I'm done. Gonna be an auto mechanic or something.
Michael, yes. Michael, the Russian bot, said, "Are you guys married or something?"
Yeah,
yes,
we're married.
We are.
Yeah, we've been married for a couple of years.
Oh, there's probably a bunch of people on here that haven't been on your show. What do you think? Well, it got really high, in some people might just stumble upon the Progressive Soapbox.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I guess so. Maybe.
I don't know, but yeah.
All right. This has lasted for like 2.5 hours, almost 3 hours.
I'm proud of myself for staying awake.
I am going to give you credit like nobody's business on that, because I got to be honest. I was like, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Like, I had no idea Trump was going to take that long.
Don't read it out loud.
What? No, not so much. Yeah, I had no idea it was going to take that long. And then Sanders is like, it's late, so I'm not going to be long. And he goes for like an hour.
No, he said something. He was like, let me give you a few examples. And we were both like, oh, shit.
It was like, oh, fuck. Yeah.
All right, well, no, we're not swingers. My wife and I are impressed with your commentary.
Aw.
I should pop on more. I'm a little upset because this is the first show he asked me to come on, and I had to
That's
watch
not true.
the fucking State of the Union
Oh, that's
with
not
Donald
true.
Trump. I don't appreciate that at all.
That's
but
not
I don't
true.
know if I'll ever be back.
I've offered her opportunities to come on the show. She just never took me up on it. The State of the Union, I look at these things as holidays of sorts. I know that sounds weird, but if you're in politics and you get a State of the Union, by definition, you're covering politics, right? The State of the Union is politics. By definition, you should feel some kind of way about the fact of the State of the Union. I want to be jazzed up about it. I don't necessarily want to take it as a given, seeing as I cover politics. At least it's one of the things I cover: politics, UFOs, all sorts of stuff. Cover some shit, insane shit.
I know.
Yeah, she had to live with me through this period where I was heavy into trying to investigate that stuff. And for me, I want to know whether it's true or not. I don't necessarily want to believe it or disbelieve it. I want to know whether it's true. And it's like looking around for anything that you can find, and it's like, all right, this guy says if you take this vitamin complex and you meditate, listen to this Native American and the drum beat, your brain again, and you try all that stuff. And she's like, look, I'm just saying, I'm not saying I believe this, but just be aware that you have a wife laying beside you, that if shit goes right, right, if shit pops off. That's this whole this joke by there's a physicist, Lazarov Zizek, makes this joke where he talks about this thing of there was a physicist, he had a cross around his neck, and they was like, why? He's like, well, you don't believe in this? I'm like, no, I don't believe in God. He says, but my grandmother or my aunt says, whether I believe in God or not, it'll work. Like, it's that type of stuff where it's like, not saying I believe this shit, but just in case, stop fucking around. But now, this show covers some of everything, so this show's just me.
Okay, do we have anything else to talk about?
I don't think so. This has been a 3-hour extravaganza.
Somebody said last year's State of the Union was 2.5 hours. Glad I missed that one. Jamal, what did you think of Trump being such butthurt when the Democratic women decided to applaud in the middle of his speech?
Did you see that? He looked like he got... So
He was
two things happened.
You weren't supposed to do that.
Right. And he's like, thank you. Thank you. Like, he gets angry when they're doing it. It's
Women
so
overstanding him.
And the wild part is, did you see Pelosi? I need to find another video of that. But there's a skit in it, or there's a part in it where it looks like Pelosi stands up and lurches in and starts like clapping in front of Trump. The camera cuts to C-SPAN to the other women in the audience, so you couldn't necessarily see it all. A little bit of hostility.
He wished that he could slap her.
I don't know, man.
A couple people.
I don't know. I think Pelosi is... I wouldn't mess around with Pelosi like that.
Somebody said they trolled Trump. That was good.
Yeah, they did.
Because he was talking about we hired, 58% of...
And they're like, right here, the women who won in Congress. Like, us. And we won because of you to some degree, so there's also that. God, man, I wish Bernie Sanders would have came on and says... And after saying all of this, repudiating Donald Trump in a rebuttal to the State of the Union, I, Bernie Sanders, am running for president in 2020, and he rips his shirt off, and he's like, yes! And then it cuts to face of black.
I don't know what some of these...
Again, man, like I said, like my speakers get a little hyped up.
I don't know what that means. Bernie stood back and allowed the BLM, the Black Lives Matter women, to speak at his
Yes, he
podium
did.
and applaud them. Somebody said, Old Gringo says, I missed Trump's speech on purpose. I wish I had. I just can't stand seeing or hearing that fucktard.
He is brutal to listen. God, he's brutal. Like it is hard to sit here and hear that. Like, it's like nails on a chalkboard listening to him. Like, even on stuff where you're kind of like, I kind of agree slightly-ish. Or at the very least, I can see how, like, for example, when Donald Trump, I've looked at polling on this. The public itself looks at, they don't look at politics as cynically as we do. At least I don't think they do. I think they look at it, there's an element of truth in it somewhere. And so if an argument is being made, there has to be some element, because they wouldn't just boldface a lie in that way. And so I think there's an element of that. If you ask the public, should something be done about immigration? They say yes. In fact, they would even go so far as to say, we trust Donald Trump more so on immigration. We just don't like him ripping babies from their mamas. This is kind of like, like the public has a particular perspective here. And getting rid of ICE is not part of that perspective. That is something that's within the side of the left. That is not something that's side for the American population itself. Just saying. So, it's like, even when I hear him say that, I get the public has a perception of that. And the public may agree with him on that. If you remember, the number one issue in the last 2018 elections was healthcare. The number two issue was immigration. So this is not something that's completely off the political map. But yeah, he's brutal to listen to.
GDNPB says, thanks you two for what you do.
It's not you two.
It's not you two.
It's just me. I'm not trying to take credit, no, but it's just me.
But he is trying to take credit. I don't do anything. This is his show.
Well, you were here today. You're here today.
Here for the torture. But people are saying that I should be back. I mean, I'm just saying, when you get a chance to look at the, people are saying that I should come hang out.
She's my marketing secretary.
That's not my title at all.
That's not it?
No, that's not it. Check your thing. You had some stuff pop up.
Oh, here. Let me check these. All right.
See, Trudy says, Miss T for co-host.
Trudy, she has been offered co-host to come every so. Wait, hold on.
Do you have a bleep sound? That's a bleep lie.
But before you no, what I was going in to say was, she has been offered the opportunity to co-host the show on occasion. She's just turned me down. She's never wanted to do it.
I have no memory of said events.
Do you remember co-hosting a show in Barcelona? That was only a few months ago.
No.
When during the election night?
I didn't fucking co-host. You had me back in the background whipping a whip at me, telling me to look up election results.
That's co-hosting.
I fell asleep. That wasn't co-hosting.
That is by definition co-hosting.
No, it's not.
People can hear your voice.
Like me on the camera.
They can hear your voice. That was more than Michael Brooks had when he started.
I don't know anything about Michael Brooks.
Sam Cedar wouldn't even let Michael Brooks,
in his early days.
In his early days talk. Just saying. Just saying.
Read your See, Garden Gnome says once a week.
I'm not.
And he knew what that other word was. What was it?
What are you talking about? Elucidate.
Yeah, elucidate. So he's smart.
Trudy, Mrs. T for co-host, thank you both for a great show. Oh, thank you, Trudy. I appreciate it. Thank you, too, for what you do.
Is this different? I read all these out.
No, the same ones. These are all of them. I didn't see anything on the stream.
I saw Star Trek ship come up.
Yeah, but I think some of the Star Trek ones, I don't see anything on Streamlabs. See, right here.
He has to go to a second window to find, like, when people give donations.
I had a backlog.
To make sure that you can,
Just so I can see the quote.
Garden Gnome says, Aisha's best work on this show is when she filmed Jamal falling off the ATV. That wasn't me, Garden Gnome. That was not
That
me.
was you!
That wasn't me filming.
Who's filming?
The guy that was, remember I was driving behind you on the ATV.
That's right, that's
and
right,
the
that's
terror
right, that's
that
right.
slept through my body cannot.
That's right. Because somebody was like, at least you didn't keep recording. Like, that's, have you seen the videos where somebody's like, there's this vicious accident and the person just keeps recording? And it's like, your friend doesn't care about you. Like, if you're watching that video and they see, this treacherous crash and the person just continues filming the carnage after the fact, it's like,
No, he did stop. It was
he stopped. He was freaked out.
The tour guide who was.
Yeah, he was freaked out. He was totally freaked
recording.
out.
I was freaked out.
He was like, be careful, man. Don't stand up. Don't stand up.
Yeah, he didn't want to get, like, sued or something.
Yeah.
I don't know how that works in Egypt.
He was freaked out.
But he looked a little freaked out.
They kept stopping short. Sean McCoy, thank you, Sean McCoy. John Hill, thank you, John Hill. Keeping it real is what it was. Keeping it real is what it was indeed. All right.
Somebody said, where's Bo? Oh, that's Skip Rock.
They're sitting right here.
He's racist. I don't want to say Skip Rock's messages out loud. The dogs are in the hallway. Somebody gave $5 for my own channel. What am I have nothing to talk about. See, look, the spaceship keeps coming up. What am I missing?
I think that's that.
Oh, okay.
I could be wrong. Damn.
Yeah, I don't really have. I said I was going to do a travel channel, but let's not talk about that. I have a bad habit of, like, starting things or, like, coming up with good ideas and no follow through. So there's that.
Skip Rock has been on this channel since the beginning.
Is that why he gets to say racist stuff?
I don't know. You mean because he wants to touch your hair?
No, that was racist. But I'm not even talking about that.
What, touch your hair?
He said other stuff on here that was like...
Oh.
Like when I see comments, I'm like, who the fuck? Oh,
he does straddle that line. I got you. I give you that. He comes close to the line.
Oh, Skip Rock.
Wait, the Great War. The Great War is what caused human life to be treated less important than political ends. It is what used mass conscription, mass industrialization, censorship of troops, and letter writing at home. What is that true? I mean, you've always had wars.
Totalitarianism is a product of the Great War, not of high taxation.
No. Oh, well, of course not. I don't think totalitarianism is high taxation. That's that nonsense that people like Schultz say. But after the war, the Soviets took over in Russia, and you had this issue of how do we... I guess you can make this case of we have a dirt poor country. Marx said that the revolution was going to take place in Germany, and we're in Russia. How do we make this work? People keep making this idea that communism is Stalin, as if those things are synonymous with one another. Fact of the matter is, it came across, like, you can make an argument that it's more along the lines of state socialism. And I know people sometimes hate that argument, but I think that argument is somewhat true. And even then, it's almost like the interpretation of the individual that was involved in the process to do it. I like Virtual Wolf's thinking on this. Like, Wolf kind of makes this point, like, socialist thought influenced all sorts of communities. In fact, he's just did a video on this that's really, really good, where he goes into the history of the stuff. But essentially, all those countries in Europe, for the most part, have been changed through... I mean, granted, they moved to the right at this point. But at one point, socialist democracies. You know.
So you think Bernie should run in 2020?
Oh fuck yeah!
Who should be his second?
I'm okay with Tulsi.
They're talking about Turner.
I like Nina too. I like Nina.
Joanna.
Yeah.
She says she thinks Turner should work on her popularity in Ohio because that would all but guarantee a Bernie win.
Oh, a win in Ohio. That's a good point. Because, you know, here's the thing. He made her a lieutenant of sorts. What I mean by this is our revolution was, I would say, the bedrock of a Sanders run. Meaning essentially flowering the ground for when he runs in 2020, that he would have this kind of groundswell of support. Granted, he already had the groundswell of support, but he didn't want that support to go anywhere. And our revolution and trying to get candidates to help him in that. Because keep in mind, if Sanders just wins by himself, Sanders get nothing accomplished because nobody's going to do anything for Sanders. Like, how do you cajole these people into doing something that they don't necessarily want to do? It is something to be said, however, if you're bringing people in with you and you have enough numbers and actually force the others to change the conversation. And before people say that's nonsense, think of your political landscape under Obama and think of your political landscape now. And even though you can make a case that materially it hasn't necessarily changed, I would make the point that the groundswell is just as important to get any kind of material change taking place in a political space. I think I argued the opposite once before, but I think that was wrong. I think there's something to be said about it. She's a lieutenant. Maybe. But, you know, that seems to be his right-hand woman. I still remember when they stopped Nina Turner from speaking because she had the temerity to support Sanders. Oh, man. Like, she was... I saw an interview with her after that. It looked like they had taken a complete piss out of her.
I'm seeing Nina... Bernie Nina 2020 with the promise of Tulsi being appointed SOS.
Secretary of State. Maybe, yeah. I'm digging this.
The Order of Chaos says who runs is far less important than who counts the votes. Recent events and independent investigations have shown that the 2102, I think he means 2012, no, 2102 election will be the most corrupt in recent history.
Maybe he means 2020. The biggest thing. But yes, that is true. I mean, of course that's true. You know, who counts the votes matters more so. All right. I'm going to end this. Guys, we had over 500 people here today. And this was the largest crowd that I think I've had at one of my live chats. I think I've hit over 200 at one point, but this like doubles anything that I've had before. I kind of assume that this being a political channel, when you get to the political circus, particularly like around elections, that a certain degree of popularity is going to be just brought onto the channel just by the virtue of what it is. And maybe that's true. I mean, I think 2020 is going to be a fuckfest. And, you know, on a positive side, I have a political channel in the middle of this fuckfest. So I get a ringside seat of sorts. That's my horse, however, Sanders. And so that is the guy that I back. I will be honest, and when I think about, you know, when I regard him, so don't misunderstand me, and I've done plenty of videos that were critical of Sanders, particularly on this Russia nonsense. But that's the horse I'm backing. So we'll see what takes place. I am looking forward to when he finally announces. They said the announcement is imminent.
Who said that?
You can look that up too if you want.
I know what the fuck imminent means. Who said it was imminent?
It came out. It was stuff that was leaked. People close to him said it was imminent. So, any day now.
Okay.
Any day. All right, guys. I'm going to end this here. If you guys enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. You can always support through PayPal or Patreon. And what's your channel?
Don't be a cunt.
No. No, you got a channel.
I don't have a channel.
You have a travel channel.
I don't. Don't be an ass.
You got like a whole video on that channel.
Someone asked how often I beat you. Oh, don't forget to subscribe. You don't say that. Do
like,
you say
share, subscribe.
Oh.
If you enjoy the content, please like, share, subscribe. You can always support the content through PayPal or Patreon.
And click the bell icon so you get the notifications.
And that. All right, guys. We'll see. Well, I will see you.
You'll see you.
Probably in the morning, first thing in the morning. But
good night.
Over and out for tonight. Thanks all.